We are live.
Welcome. How are we doing today?
Great.
Doing well, man. Another day here in Arizona. It's freezing out.
I was going to say,
Let's put the heat on.
A cold winter day in Arizona, nice 34 degrees.
Yeah.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah. How cold do you keep your house?
How cold? I don't keep my house cold. Well, I keep my house warm.
Like, where do you keep your
Like
house?
at least 74.
Oh, damn. I'll be sweating my ass off.
At least 74.
I wake up in the morning, it's like 59 degrees.
Oh, I wake up and I click mine up to like 75 in the morning.
Yeah.
Mine's 90 degrees when I wake up.
Oh, really?
No.
Because I have an automatic warmer where I set
really?
it to 90 degrees at 3 a.m.
90
So when
degrees.
I wake up by 4:35 a.m.,
That's hot.
I'm choking.
Oh, my God.
Why so hot?
But it encourages me to get out of bed and start my day up really early.
Why don't you just hire a guy with a gun to shoot
I don't
at
have
the
that
rest
much.
of it?
I don't have that much money until I manifest it.
Yeah.
Well, we're here with a very special guest today, as you can tell. This is the host of Magic or Science, the podcast.
Yeah.
His name is Kerop. Kerop, we're excited to have you on the air today with us.
Yeah.
Man, I'm happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, Kerop, you're currently living in Utah, right?
Yeah, I live there now.
Nice. And then you host a podcast series called Magic or Science, right?
That is very true. Yes.
How long ago did you start Magic or Science?
About a year ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
All right.
literally about a year. No,
Well, let's-
exactly.
Well, I was going to start at the beginning, how you
Let's-
kind of met
let's
Frank
take
and all
you,
that.
Well, let's take you back to your childhood. This is
Okay,
shit
so
we
we're going
really
to just
want
straight jump
yeah.
in.
So when I first walked in on my mom, and no, I'm just kidding. no,
We're going to level
No,
right.
where were you born, dude?
I was born in Armenia. At the time, it was the Soviet Union.
Okay.
Oh,
It was like really rough, bro.
Yeah.
And I still remember when I was a kid, the Soviet Union fell. It was like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And it was really cold. I mean, cold winters, bro.
Yeah.
And there's no electricity, no water,
Yeah.
really no food.
You grew up with that? You remember
I
that?
didn't really. I remember that because it was so like intense.
Yeah.
And then we came to the U.S. 2 years later, and we have electricity and water.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, man.
There you go.
All the stuff we take for granted.
I was going to say, man, the shit we really do take for granted.
Yeah.
Warm water, running
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
electricity.
Well, that's why I like to wake up early, bro. So I don't want to take any of those stuff for granted, you know?
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
press the snooze button.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I guess, there's a lot. Obviously, what's going on in Ukraine was kind of similar to what happened when you were there.
Yeah,
When you were young.
there was really no war.
Yeah.
It was just the whole system collapsed.
The system collapsed.
Because it was
the
corrupt.
Yeah.
financial system collapsed?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
financial system, like the Soviet Union and Armenia, was under that control. The whole
Okay.
Soviet bloc.
Yeah.
So the whole thing just went down. And
Yeah.
they're like, my grandparents were really wealthy, bro. And they had stacks of money.
Yeah.
And it was just worthless, bro. It turned into monopoly money.
Really?
Literally overnight.
Yeah. What do you do with it if there's no value?
We would burn it for heat, bro.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you have like
gosh.
$200,000 in cash, like in 10s and 20s.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it, bro, if it's useless? And you're cold.
Yeah.
We were
You're
just
like
burning
on a
it, bro.
desert island with money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, I remember we were
God. You
burning
remember
it.
that as a kid?
Yeah, and I remember my uncle would give me money,
Yeah.
and I used to always hide it under the mattress. And when I moved to the U.S., my grandma was clean, and she found all this money. Like, where the hell is all the money come from?
That was a firewood, son.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
We could have
That's
burned
firewood.
Yeah, but it's kind of like in the movies, bro. When you have all this money, like, well, do I just hang on to it and maybe die in the cold,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
do I burn it? But the money was useless, so we just burned it.
Oh, it became useful with that.
Yeah,
That's
So-
crazy.
yeah.
So how old were you when you moved to the States?
I was 6.
6 years old,
Yeah.
right? And you moved to
I moved to Pasadena, California.
Pasadena.
Pasadena.
Yeah,
Oh,
Los
the home
Angeles.
the home of Van Halen.
Hell yeah.
Is he?
Eddie Van, he they came out of Pasadena, California.
That's
I'm not,
cool.
I'm not sure if he was born. I know they're from
The
Holland-
Rose Parade?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that
That's
too. Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But I was a Van Halen fan, not a Rose Parade fan.
No, man.
So did you guys come over here with money then? How did that kind
No,
of work?
bro, we didn't have any money.
Straight
when we came
dirt
over.
poor then when you
We
came
came
over?
here dirt
'Cause it
poor.
was
My
worthless?
uncle, we lived in my uncle's house.
Okay.
Like in his garage, and then for like 3-4 months, and then my parents both started working.
All right.
And my dad's actually a barber, so
Oh,
right.
yeah,
sweet.
yeah. So he started like cutting hair. They started learning English. And we moved out, and we always lived in a small house. But
Alright.
one thing my parents always encouraged is experience in life.
Hell yeah.
Just go experience new things.
All right.
Travel. They would always like take me to places because they started making more money, but we didn't really flaunt it.
Yeah.
Of
I mean, they
course.
weren't rich, but like we didn't buy the nice house. We didn't have the nice car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They would always encourage me to travel, and still to this day, I'm traveling right now. I'm
There
here.
you go, yeah.
in
Yeah,
Arizona.
you're here
Yeah.
with us. Absolutely.
He drove in. When did you drive in yesterday, right?
I drive in yesterday.
Yeah,
and I
yesterday.
drive out tonight.
Yeah.
To the night,
Oh,
bro.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I came to the night because this is a special.
For
treat
some
me.
reason, yeah, that's cool. I thought you were here longer. That's
no,
cool.
No,
Only
I'm
a few
here
days.
for one day.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah, not
Stop
even.
by. to have a podcast.
Yeah, 6 hours I drove. But that's how much
awesome.
I love just learning things.
Yeah.
And that's how much I love Frankie and you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just picking your brains and also just just learning the unknown, bro.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm willing to drive 6 hours out of my way for it.
Yeah,
Right.
12
yeah.
hours technically if you think
So,
about it.
so you had a pretty decent childhood when you made it to L.A.?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right.
there's no crazy stuff going on in my life.
No.
But it was pretty good. It was just typical.
Easy to make
childhood.
friends, or was
Yeah,
it hard to
super
make friends?
easy.
Okay,
Super
so
easy
normal.
for me to make friends.
Yeah.
I like to be social and just like I still have my same friends from childhood.
All right.
See, that's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice,
it was kind of hard when I moved away to Utah, but still,
Yeah.
it's always good to come
Yeah,
back.
that's what it's
So
self-helpful.
you stay in California your whole life then, or did you guys move around? at
No,
all?
no, we stayed in the same city, brother.
Okay, so you were
pretty
in-
much my
stayed
whole
in
life
this
until I moved to Utah,
Yeah, which
Damn.
which I liked it a lot more for me because,
Yeah.
for me it's
Nice.
a lot better.
Do you ski at all?
I don't ski or snowboard.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've never been.
I like
skiing.
fishing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Hell
I-
yeah,
yeah,
fishing is
yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
there you
fishing's
go.
fun. Dude.
It's relaxing.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
fishing too. That's funny.
Yeah, and getting out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
absolutely the way to do it.
Yeah,
Well, then you should try snowboarding.
I've done it. I've done
So-
it plenty
Oh, yeah.
times.
Did you go to school when you were in California?
Yeah,
Did
I
you
went
go to
to
college or
CSUN.
anything like
yeah,
that?
Yeah,
or-
I went to CSUN. I studied psychology,
Oh, sweet.
and I
You
also studied
psychology.
biology.
Nice.
And I was on my way to becoming a psychiatrist, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And
Oh.
what gave you the push in a different direction?
The fact that I was interning with psychiatrists, and I was like, this is complete bullshit.
You're sitting there going, "Are we actually helping anybody, or
Probably
what's
10%.
going on?"
Probably
Yeah.
10% of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a set formula. Because even people that are actually have been therapists are changing the way they look at things.
Big time,
So,
brother.
yeah.
There's even studies done where people with dopamines and that whole concept is falling apart.
Yeah.
It's not working too well.
Well, the thing is, when you get into a room with somebody and they just ask you to kind of pour out your garbage, for an hour, and then, with no interpretation or different perspective, it's like, okay, I'm leaving worse than I came in. I'm dredging up all these painful memories, this trauma, and there's no direction for me. I'm just bringing it to the surface. So ultimately, I'm bringing just more attention and focus onto pain. No change of how I'm going to perceive that pain or grow from that pain. Just, oh, this is horrible. And then you have somebody who kind of mere neurons. You're sitting there and they're just confirming, oh yeah, you're right. That's horrendous. That's horrible. Well, okay, great. I'm glad you agree with that, but where do we go from here? And that's where I feel like a lot of these psychologists,
Well,
therapists.
That was a
it's tough
basic way. Yeah, it was a
place to
basic
be.
way of teaching psychology now. But now it's changed, right?
I hope it's
but
changed
think
a
about
lot
it, you're
better.
helping someone. You don't necessarily need a degree to do that.
No,
You don't, bro.
No.
No, you
Not
don't
at all.
at
In
all.
fact, the
At all.
majority of healers never had, for
No.
thousands of years, they didn't have degrees. This
No,
is
no.
you learn how energy works.
Yeah.
And then from there, you help others find
Yeah.
it.
And imagine if you want to help someone, but you're confined in this certain law
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
where you can't say anything outside of that.
Yep.
How do you help that person?
Great point.
Yeah.
Great
You know
point.
what I mean?
You're totally right.
It was conflicting for me, and I was like, dude, this is BS. You're not even really helping people.
All right.
Like now, let's say I meditate and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
sometimes I have like a mystical experience.
Oh, okay.
And like if I was to go tell a psychiatrist that, they're gonna put me in the loony bin.
Yeah, right. We're
Really,
gonna
they are,
look
bro.
at it's
They
it's
are.
funny. It's funny you say that, Kerop. So yesterday, I'm eating lunch and I'm watching Gaia, and there's this episode, and it's a woman who's on there, and she's talking about how she started growing up and she started hearing things and specifically seeing things, different spirits, et cetera, ghosts, whatever you want to call it, different, other dimensional beings. And she tells her mom this, and her mom gets kind of freaked out and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, you've got a great imagination. You're just a kid." Well, that keeps kind of going on, and she's like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 12 now, and still experiencing this. So they start taking her to different doctors, and finally, she's like 15 or 16. She gets to a doctor or whatnot, and the doctor tells her, I think you have schizophrenia. And she diagnoses this young woman with schizophrenia, and they put this poor young woman into the fucking loony bin. And so she, she's in this, confined. She's talking about like white walls, medication, the whole thing. And she's sitting there with another person, a new therapist, if you will, or counselor or whatever. And she's telling her about her story. And the therapist says to her, I don't think you're schizophrenic. I think you're psychic. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's never heard this term, nothing
Wow.
like that. And so they start talking more, and then she comes back the next day, and they're sitting there, and instead of doing their session, the lady looks at her, and she's like, okay, so for today, what I want to do is I want you to tell me what my house looks like, the house I live in. I want you to begin to describe my house to me. And the lady, the schizophrenic woman, is like, what do you, I can't do that. And she's like, no, I know you can. Get really quiet and tell me what my house looks like. So she gets kind of quiet, and then she throws out, it's this size, this color. And the lady's like, yeah, keep going. And so she keeps going, and she starts bringing up, like, you have cats, and you have this, and the lady's like, holy shit, you're nailing this. Like, that's exactly, you're describing my house, the way it looks, everything, all that type of stuff. And then finally the lady's like, at the end of it, she says to her, she's like, yeah, you're not schizophrenic. you're psychic. Yeah. And so she actually helps this young woman get out of this position that she was put in.
Did she pay her for the psychic reading?
No, she didn't pay her for the psychic reading. No, but she did pay her twofold, tenfold by getting her out of this poor situation. Anyways, gets her out, helps her open her own practice. And she starts helping this therapist with her cases and stuff. And then the therapist, like, gives her, her new clients, like, hey, work with this person, help them with this. And that's how she kind of got her start.
Yeah. That's awesome, bro.
But
interesting
that's the
story,
thing.
yeah.
Think about how many people, out there diagnosed schizophrenic, all this shit, just simply because there wasn't anybody there to help say, hey, look, what you're tapping into doesn't come as naturally to all people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, the world is opening up to more of that stuff right now.
I just know we're locking up people, and unfortunately, we are.
Yeah. Well, if we were truly a free society, which we're not, we're actually a society of liberties,
right?
Not freedoms. People think that.
Yeah.
So, but if we were, we could do anything. But that scares the hell out of people. It means I can take care of my own conflict.
Exactly.
Without being, without any, human law placed against me in what I do as far as consequential.
But that should be liberating.
Mm-hmm.
It should, but like, in other words, if someone, like, I didn't like someone, I shot him. Like in the Wild West, that's what they did.
Yeah.
Like out here before, a lot of places out here before it was states, it were territories. Mm-hmm. You can walk into a saloon and shoot somebody right in front of the sheriff.
Yep.
And if there was some bit of like grievance or whatever like that, they wouldn't arrest you. That was you were a sovereign individual.
Wow.
Yeah. So people are like, okay, that could be problematic. So they created laws and they justify the laws around it. So, but I believe that if we got to a place where, actually, I know if we got to a place where we're at a higher level, the whole idea about walking to a saloon with a gun, that wouldn't even be part and parcel of the story. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to get to the place of freedom, but we don't need laws to create that. We just need our own sovereignty and elevate above it. So people are trying, like, I need freedom. Like, freedom is in your head.
Well, and we see this now, too, with us trying to make laws for everything. To make it more equal or make it more
comfortable.
This. Yeah. But like every law that we're adding on, we're like, I don't know.
It's making,
we're like, it's making it worse.
Yeah, adding more, water to the quicksand, so to speak.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name that was locked up in Auschwitz? Viktor Frankl.
Viktor Frankl.
He said they could take my freedom, but they'll never take my.
Well, they can take his body, but they can't take his freedom.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and so he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which is a brilliant book. And he was, even though he was being tortured by these surgeons that they were doing surgery on him, he just had nothing but love for them.
Yeah,
he freed himself, even though, and there are people that are in prison because they have done stuff and they're buying their time because of what they've done. They agree with, but they're freeing their mind. And there's somebody living in a mansion right now that's just getting ready to blow their head off.
Yep,
it's all in the head. So freedom is not something another human being can grant you. Other beings create these laws where it can grant you liberties. That's why they have the Statue of Liberty as you come into New York Harbor. Mm-hmm. But people want freedom. Like, well, you're not going to get it from a law. I'm like, you have to get freedom within.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're starting to discover. We're starting to go within.
And that's the point of this podcast and your podcast, Magic or Science. You know?
So again, like Mike asked you earlier, so what led you to actually start this podcast?
Okay, so I'm in the health field.
Okay.
And I work with a lot of people in just health insurance, a lot of people around the country. And I was just talking to all these people, and a lot of them are sick. Take 10 different medications.
Yep.
They see 8 different specialists. Like, I don't think anyone should be taking 10 medications. I'm not a doctor, but I don't think that's a good thing, bro. Like,
no.
When you're taking serious medication like blood thinners, and you're taking antipsychotic medication, all that stuff is probably gonna contradict each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And some people I would talk to that they didn't really have money.
Mm-hmm.
and they're in pain and suffering, but they need to buy some certain type of medication, like an inhaler or some, something that was expensive that cost $500-$600 a month, or they were taking it and they jacked up the price, and they just stopped taking it.
Yeah.
And they got better. They just got better. They're like, don't worry, I'll just find my way.
Yeah.
And then, like, I would just keep in contact with some of these people. They got better. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Dude, you're supposed to get worse if you're not taking your medication, what modern science has told me, all this stuff. But these people just had this will. And some people were just able to overcome cancer. And I'm like, how did you do it? They're like, you know what? I just want to see my grandchild graduate high school. They were in junior high, and I told myself I'm going to live these 5 years. Yeah. And they actually got better, dude. So I was putting the dots together, and those people's will.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Actually, and you don't even have to be spirit. Like my Karen's, my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed 6 years ago with stage 4 lung cancer.
Oh shit.
She's still here.
Yeah.
Good
Is she
for
doing
her.
okay?
But yeah. I'm like, I don't talk to her on a daily basis, like to whatever. But her personality is like, if she's doing bad, she won't tell you. She'll do it. But I'm saying the prognosis to stage 4 lung cancer is not 6 years.
No.
That's funny. One thing I just remembered in the Soviet Union, back in the day, when someone got stage 4, stage 3 cancer, they wouldn't tell the patient. They would tell the patient's family, like, hey, just make life better for him.
Yeah.
They would never tell the patient. They would just hide it from them. And the family would hide it from them.
It's funny you say that. I feel like in Western Western like
medicine?
Healthcare medicine. Thank you, sir. We should not be able to have a doctor have the capability to diagnose somebody and tell them, I believe you only have 6 months to live, or X amount to live. I feel that should be illegal.
Well, the reason we do that is because we have lawyers.
Well, of course, but I feel like that should be against the law for us to give somebody, because they don't know.
But I'm saying that's the problem. We have laws, so what happens, someone can sue the doctor when the person dies.
Yeah.
That's why doctors have to do that. So it's not that they want to, but by law they have to, whatever diagnosis, they have to do that. So that's based on a law system. So the law, when we rely on the law, it fucks us in the ass.
But that's based on fear.
It is. But I'm saying once you have law, it will actually have the opposite effect onto it too.
So I want to explain what I mean by that to the audience. So like when you have somebody in a position of authority, and a position of authority tells you something, you buy into it, you believe it. And so then you begin to experience it. And so we know this because we've been trained this way since we were children. We go to school and we're taught by one teacher, an authoritative position. They tell us something. We're told, okay, there's only one right answer. We are conditioned to learn this way from a very young age.
And then you
so
grow up.
Yeah.
And then you're like, holy shit, that's
you're
not
like,
true.
Everybody's just kind of full of shit. I remember growing up going, man, everybody's kind of faking it. Like, there's not really only one way to do something.
Yeah.
But I think that bleeds into it. This whole thing about, like, it's a game we're playing, and it's how I look at it. I'm like, it's almost like me and my friends, we would mess with each other. And the reason we did it instinctively to see how good we were or how we can get over on the other person. Then you realize, oh, wait a minute. So that life is like a Zen Buddhist master. It's messing with you every moment of the day. So you can sit there and say, this is not fair. Or you could be like, nice try.
I see what's going on.
Nice try. I see what's going on. And when you do that, there's joy in it. Like, I liked when my friends messed with me because it tested me. Okay, am I ready for this?
Yep.
I didn't want someone to actually lay out the furry red carpet for me and have everything ready for me. No, I'm like, I want to go into this being alert, and by my friends messing with me, my dad messed with me more than anybody.
Oh, when he jabbed you in the face?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
That was a good story.
It was like, that stuff, that's the sweetness in life, So it's how we perceive it, and I think that's why. So I don't blame the system. It's how I look at it. I could blame myself if I fall into that. But how do I look at the system? I have the freedom to choose how I look at it.
So, like, for me, like, there was layers to it. So I started to kind of, like, wake up to, oh, my gosh, like, okay, my perception, I'm participating in this reality. What I buy into is what I experience. And you kind of, like, start to see, the outside world, how many things we're told and taught to buy into, like, from school, from the media, from movies, from television. And you start to kind of see it everywhere. And you're like, oh my God. And in a way, you're kind of like, this is all bullshit. And it's like kind of messed up. You're like, this is such a fucked up place to live. But then it turns into what Frank's talking about, which is then you're like, oh no, this is the Zen school. Yeah. I get what's going on. This is to help reflect back to me things I need to learn about myself, or not learn, but remember about myself and my power as the creator, etc. So at first it's kind of like, oh my God, what our government and what our schools, what people are doing to us, this is so wrong, you know? And you're kind of like, this is messed up. But then you kind of like elevate from there, and you're like, no, it's not wrong. You know, that if I didn't have that, I wouldn't, you know, have this realization. And that's what this earth is, you know, this school help you remember what you are.
The third dimension?
Yeah, the third dimension.
Yeah, it seems to be to mess with us.
Well, that's a nice way to say
what's your take on
it's
this?
kind of mess with you.
Yeah.
I would agree with both of you.
You know?
That. Yeah, definitely. I gradually gotten better at just controlling my emotions and my feelings. And I just feel like, you know how I feel like now? When you get out of the gym, you feel good. And if someone cuts you off on the road on the way home, you don't really give a shit because you're in a good place. I still give
him the finger, though.
Yeah.
I don't, bro. I don't. Like, it doesn't even faze me anymore.
Yep.
And the reason I figured that out is one of the owners of the company, he came and I took him somewhere. It was like an hour ago. And then we got cut off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he started cussing at me with some Chicago. He's like, "Yo, that doesn't bother you?" I was like, "No, man." I'm like, "Whatever. Like, that doesn't bother me at all."
Somewhere to be.
And
He's like, "You've been in LA too long."
Seriously, right?
No. What happened? He's like, "Oh, that meditation, that stuff you've been talking about and preaching, it works." I was like, "Yeah, bro, of course it works." But it didn't even bother me. I was like, "Whatever, bro." Like,
you're indifferent.
Yeah.
And how good does that feel? It feels a lot much
feels
better.
really good.
Yeah, than
But-
getting
but-
upset.
But here's the thing. I'm
You had
at
to
a
work
point
on
where
it.
that shit doesn't even bother me anymore.
Yeah.
So I was just carrying on. I'm like, we're just going to get to the destination and have fun, bro.
Yeah.
And we're going to get there. Like, the shit between doesn't even bother me anymore.
No.
All just details.
Yeah, it is just details, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, it's part of the story. It's the narrative.
Yeah, it is. But here's the thing. Sometimes you can't control the world around you, but you can control the way you react to the world.
That's it. That you nailed it. That is like so well said.
No,
you
but
can't control what's
the thing
going
is-
on around you, but you can control how you react to it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want to control what's around you because then it would be boring.
That's it. Yeah, totally.
You know, you could create something in a world and you'd be bored half because you're actually creating it. You already know how it's going to turn out if you're creating it.
And we
you
know,
don't want that.
And we know that because, like, you know, you ever been homesick or when you're not sick, but you stay home for like a week or like on a vacation or something, and you're on the couch or watching movies, like, and you're just doing nothing. Like, that's great for about, you know, a day, you know. After that, it's kind of like, you know, I want to go do something. I need it. So we think that we want to be so comfortable. But if we were all in that comfort, it would be like freaking that movie Pleasantville, where you're just like, this is not, you know, this isn't that cool. Yeah. And so we need this duality that we're describing right here. We need this positive and negative. It's just we hate the negative and we love the positive. Right. And so it's just a change of that perspective, like Kerop's saying, but which is I can control only how I view this, not the situation.
Now, when you came, like, so what was your technique? Like, what psychologically aspect did you learn to not get bothered by it? Because I think a lot of people, they ask me, like, how do you get there?
So we're talking about this yesterday, compounding.
Mm-hmm.
Just meditating a lot, and just being thankful for just waking up, bro.
Yeah.
Like all the other shit in your life.
So when you meditate, like you sit on the couch meditating, you can feel peace. But when you get out into the world, like what's the story going on in your head?
But I'm elevated. The story is I'm thankful for what I have, and like I have a clear goal.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna get that goal.
Yeah.
And the things between me is not really gonna bother me. The thought process is, let's just say you have $86,000.
Yeah.
In your
specific
bank
ass number.
86 or it's 86,400.
Yeah.
So 86,400, which is the amount of seconds you have per day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If someone takes $10 from you, are you going to risk the other money that you have, the other 85,000, blah blah blah, to actually go after this person, or are you just going to let that go, bro?
Yeah.
There you go.
So if someone takes 10 seconds from you,
so the story you're telling, it's just not worth it.
It's just not worth it.
So you're investing your time rather than spending it.
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I want to know what got you to this point. Like, we all have this hero's journey, right? That's what this is. So where did you find yourself break?
Okay,
and you're like, yo, this reality is messed up.
Yeah. So
this had to be earlier in life.
I told you I went and traveled for 6 months.
Okay. So how old are you at this point?
I was like 31.
Okay. So this is kind of like when you first started waking up to everything?
Yeah, when I was traveling, I just saw the world in a different perspective. I always traveled, but when I went for 6 months.
But hold on a second. You said like you woke up when you traveled, but what got you to travel? That's really what woke you up.
My parents probably
really?
always encouraged me to travel.
So a lot of times people think it was the journey, but like there was something that you woke up and that you didn't normally do and say, "Fuck it, I'm traveling for 6 months."
Yeah.
So did you have like
what
an urge?
led you to that moment?
Probably I guess work was like.
Okay.
Like whatever, I don't care about
You were
my
done.
work. I was kind of done with work. I gotta have a relationship.
Burnt out. Okay.
Burnt out, you could say. And I was like, I'm just gonna go travel the world, bro. I mean, I always go for a month or so, but I'm like, dude, I want to go for like 6 months and just have total freedom.
Yeah, nothing.
That's what it was, bro.
No
it was
plans,
awesome.
just
I just got a one-way ticket to Bangkok, Thailand.
hell yeah.
And people are like, what are you going to do? And I just packed 2 days worth of clothes. I'm like, don't worry, bro. I'm going to have the best time of my life. And people are like, dude, you're nuts. I was like, you're nuts for staying here.
That's really cool that you were able to do that.
Yeah.
Like before, like, and that's before you started like studying these types of concepts?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know
Really?
what it was. If anything, it sent me back down to worse pack because I was just drinking and partying the whole time.
Okay. Well, that's usually what's going on.
He's drinking
That's
his
how
way
we.
through Bangkok.
Well, no,
Bro, it
I
was
remember that's how I numbed my whole life.
Yeah,
You know?
it was 25-cent beers, bro. I would just walk into a bar thinking I'm the shit with like $3 in my pocket.
With, like,
just
$3
buy
bucks.
people drinks.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm balling. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
from the
Totally.
U.S. But like, now that I live
So
back
for
to
any alcoholics out there, Bangkok's a place to be.
Bangkok, Vietnam,
Bangkok.
yeah, Kazakhstan.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All those so traveling to all those places, I saw all these spiritual people doing those spiritual.
You
stuff.
started bumping into spiritual people on this trip?
and I was like, you guys are stupid.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
that's how it starts. See, I love hearing this shit.
But it's
This is the best.
complete. I mean, now like 5 years later, I'm sitting down in the
Yeah.
seat, you know, thinking
But
like.
that's how it works. Like, it puts you in front of what
yeah.
you need to
I
experience.
was like, dude, let's throw like hook up with some chicks. You
Yeah.
know, like
Total
drink some
normal
alcohol.
shit.
I have money. I'll pay. Don't worry. Let's do it. And they're like, no, man, I'm here. I just did a 10-day silent retreat. I feel so good. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm done.
Yeah,
whatever,
totally.
bro.
Didn't
Get
even
out of
think
here,
about
bro.
it.
But that was just me. But I realized nothing's changed except me in this whole process.
What's that saying? Wherever you go,
No,
there you are.
That's
Oh, yeah,
insane,
wherever
bro.
you go.
You ever heard that?
No, but
I've never
that's
heard that.
interesting.
Wherever you go, there you are. So
There you are.
changing your physical appearance or changing physical location doesn't change it.
Yeah,
Nope.
it doesn't, bro. Because
Yeah.
after that trip, I just ended
You
up right
realize-
back where I started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was in the worst place.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And then when I came back, I was like complete broke. Because the only reason I came back is I just ran out of money.
Okay,
After like
okay.
6 months, I went to Thailand, Laos, Vietnam,
You made the
Cambodia.
money last a while. 6 months is a long
Bro,
time.
Oh, a quarter
well-
of beer. Come on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
you
That's
know,
true.
like $7 here, a
Yeah.
quarter dollar there.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Like I really, all I had was really 10 grand, bro. But
Yeah,
I made
yeah.
it the last 6 months. But I was like
That's a long
living
time.
life. It was awesome, bro.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I was like, I don't want to live in Los Angeles. What can I do? And I was broke, and I was like, okay, so like, I started listening to Joe Rogan,
Okay.
all these motivational people, and
Okay.
one thing that
Well,
clicked
wait. Why'd you start listening to that?
because I was kind of like depressed, bro, when I came back.
Okay, so you're kind of depressed. And,
Yeah, I was
and you
really-
were looking for some answers.
I was looking for some answers, and I was looking
Okay.
for like financial freedom.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
was like,
okay.
dude, my credit cards were maxed out at that time.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, I'm completely broke. Like I hit flat rock bottom. But
Yep.
but I remember when I didn't have any money, I just stood there for a minute, and I was like, dude, remember this feeling. This moment is the worst moment of your life. After that, everything else is uphill. I remember.
That's
I
a very
sat there.
wise thought, man.
Yeah, bro. I
Not many
sat there
people
for a
have
minute.
that mental clarity.
I specifically remember that, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, just enjoy this.
Yeah.
Because it's
Enjoy
just going to
this
get.
moment.
Yeah, enjoy this moment because it's just going to go uphill from here.
It
And I
can't go.
just-
Yeah. Because it can't. If you,
Yeah,
if you-
there's-
That was your higher self talking to you before you even
Probably.
knew what
it's
it was.
not getting any lower, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like, it's not getting any lower. You know, like
Can't get any
that's it.
shittier.
Like I'm hit rock bottom, bro. I'm just
I remember
gonna
that
bounce.
same feeling. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like
That-
you kind of hit this weird where you're like, I can keep doing this same shit, which I know isn't doing anything for me, or
Yeah.
I'm
What
gonna
the
start
hell?
looking for some answers.
Exactly.
what
and,
the hell?
and
Let's
guess
try
what
this.
happened overnight?
What happened?
Absolutely nothing.
That was awesome.
But the point is,
Absolutely nothing.
it's compound, bro. It
Yeah,
compound.
you're so right.
I worked really hard. I started working 12 hours, 14-hour days, which I didn't do before.
Okay.
And I started building money. And when I had the opportunity to move out of state to make more money, I did, bro. Next thing I know, I have 20 grand in my bank account.
Yep.
I'm traveling again. I have 50 grand.
Yep.
And then, what brought me to that is meditation.
Okay.
So I would,
Well, go back to Joe Rogan and stuff. So you
Yeah,
start
yeah.
listening to this.
I started listening
You're at
to
this changing point in your life.
I'm at this changing point, and all roads were leading to meditation. All those rich people were like, yeah, just meditate, go within. All these professional athletes, really all
yeah.
these successful people that
Yeah,
were
yeah,
the elite of their field
Yeah.
were like, meditate. I'm like, bro, I have ADHD. I'm always
Yeah.
hyperactive. Like, I love drinking Red Bull.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
tried for like 5 minutes, and I was fidgeting.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, no, dude, I'm just keep doing it. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. The key was consistently every day do it.
Yeah.
And it turned into 10 minutes, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
half an hour every day.
So how long after you started getting into meditation did you end up? Because we met at the Dr. Joe
Yeah.
Dispenza week long.
Yeah.
That's how we met.
Oh, I can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew we were gonna get.
He
to that
literally
at some
comes
point.
up to me, we're talking, and then he's like, "Bro, you should be on my podcast." Like 5 minutes
And
after
you're
I
like,
met
"Hell
him,
yeah."
like, I'm like, "All right, let's do it."
Let's do it.
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
that's how the best shit happens.
Frank, the quantum tank.
The quantum tank. Hell yeah.
Because it was about quantum mechanics and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
So you guys are standing in line waiting to get into Dr. Joe Dispenza and you start chatting
No,
or
I think
something?
we were there already. Like we were in.
Yeah,
and-
we were
and-
there.
Yeah, it was in between one of the sessions or whatever.
We just kept running into
So was
each
this
other.
one of your first retreat type style things?
That was my first retreat ever,
Okay.
and I was like, I don't even know what the hell a retreat is, bro. Like, what am I retreating from?
Yeah. How did you stumble onto Dr. Joe? Because Dr. Joe was the guy who helped me, especially growing up in this Western world, be able to kind of understand this from a scientific perspective, something that allowed my analytical mind to wrap these concepts.
Yeah.
It wasn't like way out there, like, like Bashar or all these like people, where you kind of like, it was like a science base. So I bought into it and I believed it, through Dr. Joe. So Dr. Joe was like, helped me get started. Into
That
this.
was a hardcore synchronicity.
Okay.
What happened is that, so when I moved to Utah, I didn't have so many distractions. I could focus on myself more. So I went more within. I was meditating for an hour at a time. And I was like, dude, how can people meditate for more than an hour? And people were shocked that I was meditating for an hour. I was like, bro, there's no more time in the day to meditate more. Now I'm at 2 hours.
Yeah, hell
every
yeah.
day consistently. And I was listening to some YouTube stuff. I stumbled into that guy, and I Googled him. And the same day, and I listened to some podcast or like some YouTube clip about him, about the brain heart coherence. And I drove to my uncle's house. He's like, hey, bro, I want to show you something. And he showed me that same clip with the guy. I was like, man, that guy knows what he's talking about. It's like, yeah, it's like they're able to cure cancer, stuff like that.
Yep.
I was like, really? I'm like, they never taught me this in school.
No.
Yeah. And then he's like, you should just look into him more. And I read his book. I read his other book. And,
Yeah,
and I
he's
met
got several books. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I wanted to go to his seminar.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, it's like $4 or $5 grand. I don't want to drop that much money.
Yeah.
And then I talked to some guy who's a practitioner. He's like, bro, it's like, it will change your life. I'm like, have you done? He's like, no. I'm like, how the hell do you know then?
Well, I want you to come back and tell me.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's exactly what it was. Yeah, that's what he wanted.
And so you go, fuck it, I'm in.
And
All
then
right.
I thought about it, but the good news is I was such in a good place in my life where I had the money to do it. I was
Okay.
like, bro, if this $4 grand, if I waste it, it's fine. But if I invest it, my life would get a lot better.
Yeah.
And it did, bro. And I was drinking, and like I live with my coworker,
Yeah.
and this guy manages a nightclub, so we're always partying.
Yeah.
And I'm in this Soviet Union mentality where like it's okay, you drink all the time, bro.
Yeah.
And that's totally acceptable.
They don't have AA over there.
They don't have
I know.
AA,
Yes,
bro.
they don't
have
believe in it.
They have yours in their bottle. Like
Yeah.
work your way out. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
It wasn't alcoholic, but it was just drinking a lot, bro. And
Totally.
I just subconsciously I wanted to stop drinking, but I couldn't.
Well, you
'cause I
knew.
was in
You
that
felt like
environment.
shit the
Yeah,
next
bro.
day.
I did,
It was
bro.
hard to get in the. I
Yeah.
know what you mean. That's why I
Yeah.
stopped drinking too. You just say it falls away because, like, I don't know. It takes you out of the present moment.
It does, bro.
Yeah.
And
I know
yeah,
what you
it
mean.
gives you an altered state of consciousness. And
It does.
there's a reason they call it spirits, bro. Something bad happens to you.
Yeah.
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 Well, it lowers your. It actually lowers your consciousness.
Yeah.
That's
what I felt like, too.
It's not a. It doesn't lift you up. It lowers you.
It gives you
Yeah.
a false sense of good feeling too.
Well, it's because your thoughts or inhibitions just dive down. So if you have nothing to worry about, it kind of feels good. It
Yeah,
helps
it
you
does.
stop worrying. It works, but you could just meditate to stop worrying.
That works a lot better, bro.
Yeah. Well, it elevates you. It's not alcohol is a suppressant. People are like, oh, it doesn't lift you up. It actually.
Yeah.
So you
Suppressing.
haven't. When did this Magic or Science podcast start? Because like,
It
so
started
you're kind
a
of getting.
month before that,
Okay.
actually. So I was
Oh, so I was one of your first people on it.
maybe like number 15.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I still didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I still don't know what I'm doing really, but
who
like no
does?
one
No,
helped
I
me.
would say no.
Me and
I
Mike
do.
are trying to figure it out too.
But
Yeah.
I knew someone asked me, he's like, what do you want to do with your life? I'm like, dude, I just want to travel in the world and just help people. And he's like, so how you gonna make that happen? I'm starting a podcast, and it just randomly came out.
Really?
Yeah, and I just Googled it and I started the podcast, and I was nervous the first couple of times.
Yeah.
And
But why Magic or Science? Because
well,
at this
because-
point, have because you hadn't really listened to any Dr. Joe yet, but
Yeah.
you were starting to get into these concepts.
Yeah, I was getting into this concept. I'm like, dude, is this like literally magic? Like
Yeah.
the way people are able to heal themselves? Like, where's the science behind it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, could we justify using science? And then I read this quote by Arthur C. Clarke. He's a writer. He's like, magic is just science we don't understand yet. So all this stuff going on in the world.
That's
that
an
you guys,
awesome quote.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
That is the
That
truth,
is
bro.
100%
Like
the
the
truth.
stuff you guys talk about, different people being able to levitate themselves,
Yeah.
doing LSD and it doesn't bother them.
Yep.
Like the science, we just don't understand it completely yet, bro.
No, and we never will. Science itself, like we talked about this before, it's a formulation of study. Science itself, or the results of it, are always open-ended. But there is a formulation that is sound in the study of science.
Of course.
And how to do it. So, but it's a formula, and that's pure. It's when someone says this is how it is. I'm like, well, let's wait a couple of years.
Well,
to find
in
out.
that formula that we're talking about, it can't be applied to certain things quite yet, like levitation, like
well,
you know,
it can be.
Well, and it has been, but that hasn't come out. You know, there's a lot that we would consider magic that can be described in a very scientific way that we haven't dove into yet as a society.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of monetary reasons behind
hiding
that.
it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like having a formula, but no one's applied any numbers to it.
Yeah.
So the idea of levitation is a theoretical scientific proof. You know, that they're already doing that, but they haven't seen a human being just in front of them levitated. What does it take for someone to enact those electromagnetic frequencies to do so? But I think also too, the point is, and there are people that actually have that come up like, well, we have junk DNA in us.
Yeah,
That's we have.
That's
to
not
overcome.
junk DNA, bro.
What?
Exactly.
No, I'm just saying these. We're all even you saying that it's all a story.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really know. But when we choose a positive story, it elevates us to a higher level, and then we start to open up and see things. So start to see. But people are saying we have junk DNA. That's what's holding us back. But for them, that's a positive story to say, okay, once I override the junk DNA, get higher of it, I can do that. So theoretically, we can do that through science. But they've already have anti-gravity understanding of how like sap makes up a tree.
Yep.
So they already know it exists. But how does it exist? Well, what creates gravity?
The field, bro.
Yeah.
The field.
It is.
Well,
the
I think
field.
a lot of these questions won't ever be answered, but hey, keep asking them. See where it takes you.
Yeah.
It's a synchronicity that the reason we ask the question, it leads us out the door to find out the experience we're having.
Yeah. There's a scientist I follow. His name is Dean Radin. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him.
Dean Radin?
Yeah, Dean Radin. You guys should
I've
definitely
never
look
heard
up
of him.
He legitimately studies science
Okay.
he studies magic from a scientific perspective.
Okay.
And it's called the School of Gnostic Institute or something
Okay.
like that. Yeah. And pretty much what he says is like, I have all this evidence, tens of thousands of studies of like the future can change the past.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to change the world around you.
Yep.
If you use a Ouija board, there's like all these entities. It's like
Yep.
there's a bunch of science. He's like, the modern science doesn't agree with that. So the most logical explanation is we just got modern science incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but nobody wants to admit that.
Yeah, but what we call modern science 50 years ago would have been not modern science.
Exactly.
So everything changed. It's just a school of thought. Everyone that's collectively agreeing upon this, and now that's breaking apart.
That is,
Well,
bro.
we look back at like the Egyptians and all these different civilizations that came before us and all this stuff, and we kind of look back at them like they are, they were not evolved. Like we're such an evolved.
Well, I think the
species.
story is they were so evolved, we just don't know why.
Well, that's it, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Is
Yeah.
at the end of the day, Egyptians, they were creating electricity in the middle of just nothing, from nothing, and they were learning these different how to move stones with vibration and sound. They were so far advanced. Our civilization that we live in and grew up in, we're like in kindergarten compared to like where these generations and civilizations were before us.
Yeah.
But because we are able to measure things like to the quantum minute nano millimeter whatever, we're like, oh yeah, we can tell you how old that rock is with science. So we're so evolved. No, man, we are so far beyond where civilizations were before us, and it was because they were working with the field. They were working with ether.
The way I look at it is like Michael Phelps is a great swimmer.
Yeah.
Well, let's tie his hands behind his back and his feet.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening to us.
Yeah.
It's not bad. We always want to put more pressure on ourselves to see how great we are. So a Navy SEAL will literally tie his hands and feet behind his back because anyone can swim with arms and legs. So I don't look at what's happening now as bad or we're de-evolved. Mm-hmm. It's just like, okay, that's easy. I could do that. I could do whatever. Well, can you do it with your hands tied behind your back? Let's see if I can win the fight. Move around.
Yeah.
So you start to really look at it. I'm like, this is what we're happening. I think again, that's my perception onto it. I'm like, I want my hands tied behind my back. I want to swim the 50 meters without drowning, type of thing. Anyone can do it with their hands and feet. Mm-hmm. Let's try it without it. See what happens.
I think it's our job to untie the hands and feet for the kids' generations
I like
coming.
that, bro.
Because
I
that's
like
what
that
I want
a
to
lot.
do. Is I want to help these people.
Yeah, I want to help people
swim.
too, bro.
Yeah, no, I get that, but
'Cause it's like,
we don't
fuck.
we don't want to make it easy.
No, I get that. That's the point of this realm.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be easy.
Because a dolphin, like all of a sudden now there are people that can swim in a dolphin-like state faster and you and I can do with our hands. Or actually hands get in the way. See what I'm saying? A lot of technology that we're advancing is probably going to get in our way. So we have to be careful about that. It's slowing. Because in other words, we're still waiting for the outside world to save us. I'm like, you got to save it. It's in your head. It's
it's all in your head, bro. You have, as Joe Dispenza says, you have the greatest pharmaceutical store in your head, bro.
You are the pharmacy.
Yeah, you are the pharmacy.
People are trying to get 20/20 vision, and you and I and Mike are closing our eyes with blinders on to see stuff.
Yeah.
What do I need 20? Yeah. But we're actually, that's how we're going in. So do you need binoculars or do you need eye mask?
Neither.
So,
yes.
Well, I think about this all the time, and I feel like what kind of happened is, we had this industrial revolution, things started taking off, and like in the last 200 years, we created what we live in. This idea of jobs, a tax system, healthcare, all this stuff, this was created by humans, and we created this world, and now we're like living in it. Where before, we came here and we were one with the earth. We, sun come up, sun down. Like we had different. You went out into the world to experience. You didn't live only in the world, and so we're like only living in this world. And so I look back, and it's like my parents when they were born and stuff. They were raised, from birth. This is science. This is how it is. So, like, our parents weren't doing us wrong. They just had no idea when they were passing these, like, ideas and concepts onto us. So they thought they were helping to help us live in this world, They didn't look at it as, like, no one showed them that way. And they were, like, kind of that generation where they grew up from the Rockefellers and on. You know what I mean? Like, they were born into the Rockefeller lifestyle that we created. Yeah. And so from there, they just naturally taught it, and so that generation wasn't doing anything wrong. They didn't know any of it, you know. And so now we have this information age coming out, and it's like, whoa, let's look at all this. And so we're hitting this weird turning point, and I feel like that's going to help a lot of kids be like, hey, this place doesn't suck that bad.
It doesn't, because you'll choose it. But like even one of the greatest philosophers came to understand that we know nothing. So let's not pretend our generation knows more than the generation past. That can
no. I don't mean
but
it like that.
But the information's available to them, bro. They have the internet.
Yeah.
But information was always. Who do you think created the internet?
Yeah.
The guy created the internet without the information that we all say we had.
No, totally.
So we have to be careful about that. Like information, for when we get off of Google, it's already yesterday's news. Mm-hmm. The true information that we're talking about is like what we're doing here. We didn't practice this. We're talking.
We are just talking.
We're tapping into a field right now and getting information. So that's like, again, that's kind of like what we're talking about. But once we then say you have to do it this way, and some people start doing that, like, I'm like, we have to be careful we don't redo this at a different level. Like, my religion's better than the other one.
Mm-hmm. That's funny you say that.
Yeah.
With the meditation, going back now that I'm meditating 2 hours a day, I had to take a step back a little bit because it was just becoming a chore.
Yeah, smart. Good for you to have that level of awareness.
Yeah. I was. It was becoming a chore. I started paying attention. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I mean, I felt good afterwards, but it was still a chore. It was like completing the chore, like making your bed, or doing your laundry. Of course, your laundry's gonna be clean. Mm-hmm. But the point is to get something truly out of it. Mm-hmm. So now what I do is I take a moment. Either you write it down or you think about it. Like, what do I want from this meditation? Do I want world peace? Yeah, you want to set an intention. Exactly. You want world peace. Yeah. You want to just feel good for the rest of the day. Yesterday, I meditated before I even drove 6 hours to see you guys. I was like, I'm just going to have a great day. I'm going to do a great podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm going to see Frank. I set the intention, and it just exactly went that way. Yeah. But you have to set the intention before you do it. You can't just do it mindlessly. Sometimes I do jump into meditation mindlessly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't really go anywhere. Yeah. But that's important, dude. Yeah. Set an intention, and have a purpose.
Yeah, because that makes you conscious, and that's what we're trying to do is get to more a conscious state. And if we can't be conscious, that's when we try to do at the conscious moment, reprogram our what we call habitual mind or subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind is really what rules the avatar in which I'm in.
95% of it, probably.
Yeah, so maybe at one point we can change that to a higher percent. I don't know, because, trying to stay conscious all the time, but in that conscious state, I noticed that I'm changing from where I was, but I have to stop thinking where I was bad. Yeah. It was different. Because that means what's going on right now is bad.
Right. That's a great point for the audience, because when we're stuck in this very dense realm, we think that, we kind of get upset when we feel bad, and we don't have to.
Yeah,
I love
right.
how you said that.
So one thing Frank taught me, I called him because I was asking for advice.
Of course, I go to Frank for advice too.
This is why
for meditation
That's
advice.
why he was drinking 25-cent beers.
Great advice over
That's
there,
before
Frank.
I met him.
Yeah.
25 cents. Yeah, man, they're cheap, bro.
I go to Frank for advice
They're
all the
cheap.
time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I know
watered
exactly
down. Don't
why.
get me wrong. 5%.
Yeah,
right?
I'll just mess you
25.
up if you take my advice.
No. It was actually great advice.
It is.
I'm like, hey, Frank, like I'm meditating for 2 hours, but it's getting boring, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? He's like, well, you're becoming more efficient at it. It's like, I could just tell by talking to you. I'm like, I really am. Versus like a couple of years ago when I was meditating and fidgeting,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. Because my body's like able to do it now. I'm in the zone. I can get into the zone more. I can change my brain waves. I've even done brain scans.
Have you done this?
Yeah, plenty of times.
That's cool.
I went in.
I've never done that. I want to do that.
Yeah, neuroscientists.
Yep.
And like I become friends with them. They're like, bro, we're really into this stuff. We just can't talk about it. I was like, what the fuck, bro? Like
Everybody's
talk
into
about
this.
it. Yeah.
Everybody.
I'm like,
is.
all right, just strap it
All
on me, bro.
scientists
Like I
really
don't have,
get it.
Yeah,
They
I'm
do.
like, I don't have anything to use. Just strap it on me,
Yeah.
and like I could drop into it. So he's like, the time doesn't really matter. He's like, you're becoming better and better. You're becoming more efficient.
Yeah.
That's what's important. So it's not like, oh, I'm bad at it. I'm getting bad at it. It's I'm becoming more efficient than I was.
Yeah, a lot of people read what we call the plateau effect. They well, I shouldn't say they read it wrong, but a lot of times they choose it in a more negative connotation rather than a positive. I'm like, yeah, you're getting better. It's and because it's getting better, it's getting easier. But then, what's the human condition want?
Bored.
We want to tie our hands behind our back. Because we're swimming
What's
so good.
next?
I want to do something a little more difficult.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, that's what's next. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you. So, explain this to the audience. So, when you say you can drop in, are you saying you can go from like a beta state brainwave to like slowing down your brainwave state to like a more like a theta, like a lower brainwave frequency? Is that you're dropping into meditation?
From beta to alpha.
Okay.
Within like 30 seconds.
See,
or
that's cool.
Not even, bro. It's like 10 seconds. You strapped it on. I'm like. The first time I did a brain scan, it was to test for, I think, like addictions, anxiety, and I was like, I'm just gonna fuck with this machine, and then I just started meditating, doing Kundalini breath.
Good for you.
Like, what the hell's going on with the machine? Like your brainwaves, are you going to a seizure? I was like, no, man. Like I had to drop.
I know
out
what
of
I'm
it.
doing.
Yeah. No, I didn't tell them I was gonna meditate. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna fuck with these guys and the machine.
That's awesome.
And I did, and then they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just meditating. They're like, and then the doctor came in, he was like, all right, do it again. And like I did it, and then I was just messing around with the machine, and I was like, dude, I'm actually pretty good. Like, how do you do that? I'm like, well, I just meditate. I'm an avid meditator.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at for the audience. So explain kind of how you drop in, because it's hard for a lot of people when they sit down. They're in that same fidgety state you described initially. So how did you learn to drop into that?
Many ways. I would say practice. Your
practice.
mind is like a muscle.
Okay.
If you want to go hit the gym right now, maybe you could bench press 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Hey, if you do it for a year, you get really strong. You take care of your health. You sleep right. You could do 200 pounds.
If you believe you could do 200 pounds, that's how it works.
Yeah.
But the way to drop in, everyone does this. Everyone does it. They come home from night and they had a rough day. They turn the TV on.
Yeah.
They drop in.
They drop in.
They literally drop in. But the thing is, now the information coming in is whatever the program wants to give. That's why they call it programming, by the way.
Yeah, exactly why they call it that.
To answer Mike's question, what I do now is I just concentrate on my breath, or I just put on headphones where it just closes out
to slow the mind.
Yeah, it closes out that external world, or you picture like something right here on your forehead,
right there in your third eye.
Yeah, your third eye. You just focus on that, and then like it just calms down, dude. Just the world just kind of like melts away, and you're just in your own world.
Yeah. That's awesome. I just love hearing your perspective for those at home who can be like, all right, I'm going to give that a try.
Give it a try. If you say you can't meditate, guess what? You're buying into the fact that you can't meditate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I don't like it. I don't want to say hate, but I really don't like it when people say that. I'm like, anyone could do it. Look, like me, I could bounce off the walls, dude. I have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
But I can also sit there and meditate for 2 hours. And I've taught myself to do it. It might be work, just like taking care of your health.
Yeah.
But you can do it. Anyone can do it.
And you just nailed it. It's the work side of things. It's like anybody can play the piano, but like if I tell you to sit down, you're not going to play Mozart right off the bat. Yeah, that's what people are doing with meditation. They're saying, "Hey, I can't drop into this immediately." Well, yeah, you haven't done it a couple times. You haven't ever played a note. You've never even sat in front of a piano long enough to know what it does.
Having a piano in your living room doesn't make you want a pianist.
You know,
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah. So it's about doing, and the reason we don't like to do stuff because it's uncomfortable. But if we start learning the art of being uncomfortable, it's a brilliant art.
Right.
Because discomfort is actually where we grow.
Yeah.
But when you choose it, if you don't choose it, you may or may not grow. But we willingly choose to be discomfort. All of a sudden, what is discomfort? it's the brain creating new neural pathways.
It is, bro.
And when what is comfortable is reiterating the new neural pathways. So that's all you're doing. So you want that, like, it's not good for the brain. We know for long systemic periods of time, it's not good to keep reiterating. Right. So by choosing to do something like, I'm just going to sit on the couch, I'm like, just get up and walk. You're actually changing your brain waves, and that actually creates a whole new organism in your body. And that's why we do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It reminds me of a story. I was in Egypt just looking at the pyramids.
God, that's so cool you went to Egypt. I can't wait to go to Egypt.
I just did these things by myself, dude. I just go and travel. Like, I get out of my comfort zone. And I was just sitting there. I sparked up the conversation with some lady that was, like, super spiritual. She was there to meditate on the pyramid. I was like, whoa, that's the next level.
Yeah.
When did you go to Egypt?
It was last year in April.
Okay.
During the heart of COVID. When everyone's like, don't go. It's dangerous. I'm like, how do you know?
Yeah.
Like, have you been to
We
Egypt?
don't know.
Yeah. They're like, no. I'm like, do you know what's going on in Egypt? They're like, no. I'm like, don't stop putting false thoughts in my head, you know? I just went for 2 weeks. I had a blast, bro.
That's so cool.
They didn't have beer, though. Because, you know. Yeah, but anyways. They had some beer.
Tell us about the conversation with the spiritual lady.
So the ladies, like, I was telling her all these places I traveled to, and I love traveling. She's like, tell me, what are you running away from? And I was like, thought about it. I'm like, I'm not running away from everything. Yeah. She's like, so what's going on? I'm like, well, I just love going into the unknown. I just popped out, bro. I just said that.
Yeah.
And she's like, wow, that's a great answer. I'm like, yeah, because I can't judge where I go based on my past.
Yeah.
I don't have a preconceived notion of, like, Dubai, because I've never been to Dubai. I don't have a preconceived notion of Morocco. It's not like Egypt. It's completely different.
Yeah.
But when I go there, I'm actually in the present moment. I'm not in the future thinking what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not in the past because I can't judge what's going on. So I'm in the present moment, bro. And I love it.
It makes you alert.
It makes me very alert, bro. And I'm there. So I love traveling for that fact.
So cool.
And actually, that's so when they do all this study on the human existence and what really satisfies us is actually being placed in alertness. And that's why when you do new things, that's why people like climb mountains and stuff. You can't like just wander off in your brain when you climb a mountain.
Or cold showers, bro.
Yeah. That's a good one.
He said, did I hit the hard spot?
Yeah. Cold showers, man. They do.
No,
you can't think.
I don't give a shit what kind of mood you're in.
Yeah.
You jump in a cold shower, bam.
Yeah, bro. It kind of changes things. There's something special about, like, just being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Wim Hof says.
I think that's why we get married.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Karen.
That's right. Man. This is the podcast that gets them divorced.
No.
I am just kidding, Karen. I love you.
No, but truly, we got to constantly push ourselves into these situations.
Yeah,
It's not just going to feel good to get in a cold shower.
Like now,
you have to knowingly,
I took a cold shower here. It wasn't that bad. But when you're in Utah and it's like 20 degrees outside and the water's already like almost icy, you take a cold shower, bro, it hurts your body.
Yeah.
So your mind tries to avoid it, especially in the morning.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah. Because you're controlling the mind.
Yeah. I'm like, we're doing this, and it really does hurt, bro, because my fingers are numb for like 5 minutes afterwards.
Yeah,
but after that, I have this surge of energy.
Well, your dopamines rise continuously.
Yeah, bro. But
a ridiculous number
pain,
too,
bro.
It's
I
like
don't have any pain in my body.
Yeah,
no,
like it just helps you.
Well, when
heal.
you hit cold water, what happens chemically in your body? You actually release cortisol, which is an anti-inflammatory. But then the body has to heat up, so it's using it. Most people release cortisol because they're stressed, but there's nothing to release from it. So that compounded releasing will create too much cortisol will actually create a problem. But when you go into a cold shower, the body has to heat up. So it's actually using that chemical proficiently and purposefully.
See, but no one ever taught me this stuff.
The thing is this: scientists
aren't taught this stuff growing up.
No. But the thing is that people that were doing cold showers, like the Native Americans, when anyone was sick, they would go into a cold river.
Yeah.
They instinctively knew it.
Yeah.
They're like, well, let's study the biology on this fella. It's like
so there's this Indian guy that owns a 7-Eleven right by where I live.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
And super cool guy.
Totally.
And like he always has an arm thing on, and like we always have conversations. He's uncomfortable, but once I asked him like, what's going on? He's like, I just have this inflammation, this pain, and he's like, you're in the medical field. What type of medicine should I take? I was like, dude, just take a cold shower. And he looked at me like I was stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen to me. Like, you're taking all this stuff. You're in pain for days, weeks, months. what's going to hurt if you take that cold shower?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to lose? He's like, he tried it, and then the next week I saw him, he hugged me. I'm like, bro, what's going on? He's like, I tried it for a week. He's like, I'm not wearing the brace anymore.
There
the
you go.
pressure.
See?
He's like, it's gone away. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, it
'cause
just works.
He literally was like, fuck it. You know, I got nothing
Yeah.
else to try. I'm going to try it.
Well, he looked at me like I was crazy, but I'm like, bro, just try it.
Yeah, there are biologists now that have studied it, and they'll let you know what's going on. But even think about this, and not to take away from the profession, all the things and even the name of the chemicals, name of the part of the brain, human beings came along and just named it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We created that.
Yeah.
The most important thing that I discovered that people just named, apparently, like when you meditate now, they have these X-ray machines or these special machines where you're releasing photons in your body.
Okay,
You're
yeah,
releasing light.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're trying to come up with all these fancy names.
Yeah.
Actually, I saw this on Ancient Aliens. And then some guy's like,
Yeah, that show's awesome.
wait a minute, they discovered this in India or like in Tibet like 3,000
yeah,
years ago.
3,000
First,
years ago.
yeah.
Guess what they named it? It was called Enlightenment.
Yeah.
Literally, they're like, come
They
on,
already had a name
guys.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They already had a name for it. And it's true. I think that's what's happening. So, but in the, like Mike mentioned earlier, in the day and age in which we live in, when scientists and doctors offer up these practices that seem to be from some backwoods place,
Like far-fetched.
yeah, and they start offering up scientific evidence based on the scientific rudimentary understanding of how to study it, it helps the average person to do it, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
It is a good
So
thing. bro.
yeah, I don't knock it, but like some people are like, well, duh. But I'm like, yeah, but because these people were talked out of that and into this other school again, like you said, the hands were tied behind the back and everything else.
Well, I mean,
But the thing about this, if you were already swimming and then tying your hands behind your back, that's one thing. But if you started out with your hands behind your back, you're like, holy shit, I have arms and legs.
yeah.
And that's what with people. Some people.
It's kind of like what waking up is.
Some people waking up to that. I'm like, yeah, it's different when you purposely do it, but when it was done for you,
Yeah.
it's a whole different thing, and you weren't aware that you didn't have
And the
this
sad part is-
disability.
I'm glad you woke up a different way,
Well,
and I did too, like
yeah.
gradually. But some people, they have like life-threatening issues
Yeah.
where they have to wake up
Yeah.
and they get cured. That's a little more
Yeah,
dangerous.
but even when we wake up gradually, think about what happened around you. Like,
Everything changed.
I'm saying, like, let's just take 9/11.
yeah.
Someone might have lived in like California.
Mhm.
All right,
Me.
9/11.
Yeah,
9/11
you were
happened.
there during that time.
So 9/11 happened, and if you lost a person in the towers, or whatever, you're waking up really quickly. You're forced to it. You go into a whole process of psychosomatic and what they call mourning and stuff like that, and you wake up. But somebody else in the distance might not look at it and don't realize it was because the world changed that day. So there was these scientists at Princeton University who were always measuring the seismographs of the Earth. They had meters all over the place. They had
We do that every day
yeah.
at all times.
Yeah.
We're always measuring. Yep.
Yeah, but prior to 9/11, there was no. So what they did is, so in the northern southern hemisphere, they also had satellites. So it was probably about a week prior to 9/11. There was a slow rise, but nothing dramatic, and they didn't know what was happening. They couldn't see anything happening. But 15 minutes after the second tower was hit, it spiked.
Yeah.
Now, you can picture these guys sitting in some lab underground looking at it. They weren't watching CNN. They had no idea. Until they go, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, something's going on here.
They went out there and looked at it, and they realized the reason it was 15 minutes after the second tower. After the second tower was hit, we realized it wasn't an accident. It was an attack.
Wow.
Because it was an attack, the whole world's involved. And why 15 minutes? That's how long it took the world to find out. The whole world. If you were there, it took you no time at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone, we actually knew on that day, everyone's heart is connected in the universe, in this planet.
And we
And their
found that out.
consciousness too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, because the spike, so prior to that, we thought the spike had to do with the Earth.
But it didn't have anything to do
We
with
affected the
Okay.
Earth because
Yeah.
it wasn't these units weren't attached to human beings. It was attached to the Earth.
Wow.
It was a seismograph or whatever they
It's
call
like-
that.
yeah, so when it spiked, what happened, check this out though, but it never came back down to its base place where it was. So
I
because
didn't know that.
yeah,
Does that
so
mean we're all more connected now?
well, not all of us. Some people went back to sleep. So everyone on that day was conscious. Like I knew somebody was telling me I'm from New York, but I wasn't there at the time. That they were visiting, and during that tower, and they had to leave their hotel. It was weird because it was pretty close by, and they were just visiting, and people were just walking aimlessly in the street, and there were people, just random strangers. Can I help you? Do you need water? Do you need food? I'm like, yeah, that's not in New York.
That's fucking not New York.
I'm like, you guys
New
get
York,
on me.
you don't
Get out of here.
you don't even make eye contact in New York.
Dude, New York people are actually pretty. They're just busy, bro.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Everybody is good. That's the thing. We're fucking fed this bullshit narrative from media and movies
Right.
that
No, they're actually
that
good
everybody's
people, bro.
different. We all
No, I
are
think- I
there.
think that,
you
They're
know?
just busy, bro.
But that's what you nailed it. When we're too busy, we don't see the connection with other people.
Exactly.
But if you get anyone alone, I don't care where they're from, you get anyone alone, you start having a conversation, you get to know them, you could see the true self come out.
Yeah.
Well, tragedy.
We're all so similar.
Yeah, tragedy
We're
brings
taught.
us out collectively. So a lot of times, collectively, something tragic happens, and it affects every individual. We don't realize it because the tragedy wasn't directed towards them. Like if you were living in New York and a loved one died, you could say the tragedy was directed towards you. But if you were living in California, yeah, it's part of your country. But it still affected you.
It
You
affected
just
me,
don't
bro.
know how much.
I remember when I woke up that day, I was watching it. My mom was like waking me up. I was late for school.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like in
I
junior
remember
high.
that day too. yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's a movie playing. And then I just draw like there's a tower burning. I
Yeah.
thought it was like a movie.
Yeah.
And I go to class, and then like the principal walks in, is like, oh, it's been a terrible day for our country. Like there's a terrorist attack. I'm like, what the?
Yep.
What is going on here?
Yep.
So everyone,
remember
yeah.
that.
So on that day, we realized that electromagnetic field, our hearts are connected. Not only that, we're actually connected to Mother Earth
Yes, we are.
directly, and we feed into her, and she feeds into us. It's a two-way street.
So one thing in Japan, they have these studies now. People that have depression, they take them out to the woods, disconnect them, put their feet in grass,
Yeah.
and apparently their heart rate drops. That means they're calming down.
Yeah.
They're becoming more with
Yeah.
nature. So
Yep.
something about like the outdoors, and we're connected to
Well,
Mother
we
Earth.
also have to understand.
100%.
Yeah, you also have to understand too, because for people that are living in New York City and can't get to, or somewhere they can't get to a forest.
Central Park.
Well, I'm just saying, so you can do that.
But yeah,
You got
anywhere.
to understand, you are nature. You're not separate from nature. So I could sit on my couch. You know, I could be sitting in a high-rise building and close my eyes and be tapped into nature. Yes, to the people that don't know that, send them into the woods and do that. But then all of a sudden now it's like, fuck, I have to go to live in the woods. You know, I'm like, no. I'm like, no, you don't have to do that. We are nature. We're not separate from nature. But the woods is a representation of what we look at as nature. All right. Now, if we live in a cluttered place, well, that means your mind's cluttered. So there is a correlation. There is a great correlation. So that's why a lot of people are leaving LA, and they'll tell you stories. It's getting too high priced there. As soon as it's like how many. LA, how big is LA? And there's like 24 million people live there.
Yeah.
That's
Like
documented,
holy
bro.
shit!
Yeah.
That's documented.
What are you saying?
It's
People
huge.
aren't documented?
Well, there's some of them.
Yeah, no, you're right.
No,
You're
not
right.
that I-
There's
that's
a
what-
shitload of people.
Not that I care. I mean, they probably came to this country to work.
No,
But,
I'm just.
yeah,
we
yeah,
just we don't get political on the show. It's,
Oh, yeah.
we think
good.
it's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it
But
is.
yeah,
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
I mean,
If anything, poke
but
fun
here's
at
the thing.
it.
Every time I talk to one of those people that left LA, they're like, bro, I'm so much happier.
Yeah.
I'm in a smaller place, and I have more time for my kids.
Yeah.
I'm like, what does that do for you? They're like, well, it just makes me feel better. I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, and so the outside world and the inside world, they have to mirror themselves at some point. So if you're living in clutter, it means your mind's cluttered. If your mind's clear, you're going to start cleaning the clutter.
As without, so within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people talk about, climate change and pollution, and the activists that do it are angry. I'm like, do you realize there's more clutter in your head than the carbon that's coming out of the car? Like when you clean that up, you'll come up with a solution to where that guy trying to get to work doesn't need his vehicle because he has to feed his family. Last thing he's worried about is the carbons. And I get that. I fully get that.
Yeah.
But you yelling at him or her ain't going to solve the
Or
problem.
shaming them.
Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, Gandhi said it. If you want to see the world change, start by changing yourself, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Be the change.
yeah, and that's why. So I think with this whole climate change thing, I don't know. I don't personally know anyone that doesn't believe in climate change. People are like, oh, there's people that don't believe in climate change. I'm like, who are they? I've never heard of one. Now, people argue over the cause of it.
Yeah.
Right? What's the cause of it? Right? That's open for interpretation. I've listened to many scientists that were very well versed, and hold pristine and esteemed places in life.
Yeah.
And they differ on this, but we realize how do I feel about it? How do I think about it? My mind is what created the pollution. Someone's mind created the Industrial Revolution. We need this to take care of us. And that, like, oh, yeah, we make my life easier. Every time we make our life easier, what happens? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Someone that I interviewed yesterday that I don't want to name, he
Yeah.
said something very clear.
You don't want to mention his name.
Yeah.
That pertains to our body.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it also pertains to just being healthy and also the environment around us. Like in the Western world, what happens is you have a trash can and you have all these flies.
Okay.
So what do we do is like let's just spray it with fly
Instead of
detergent.
getting rid of
yeah.
trash, just kill
Instead
the flies.
of
That's it.
instead of getting rid, and then if there's more flies, let's get a bigger, a stronger like fly repellent and just spray it some
And guess
more.
what happens? The flies become immune to it.
And,
Yeah,
and we don't
exactly.
take the trash out.
Versus taking the trash out and cleaning the trash can, dude, and then after that everything's gonna
That's
get better.
too easy.
That's a
I
great
mean-
analogy.
You're
Yeah.
saying that, it requires work, but like you think 5-10 years down the line,
It doesn't require work. That's the problem. I mean, that's the funny thing about it. It's work to actually have to go to the store and buy a spray that kills flies.
Yeah.
That's a
Or
lot
it's
more
more
work.
work. Yeah.
Yeah,
and,
it's
and
more
costly,
work.
and more costly.
Yeah. And
But again, that goes back to the way we're taught. We're taught to go outside to fix everything. We're never taught,
Go in.
oh, go in.
No, go in,
that,
bro.
that was never something growing
Go in.
up. No, it just hasn't. And we're starting to kind of pass that knowledge on, which is awesome.
Yeah,
Kerop, do you remember the first person you interviewed for Magic or Science?
I do. He was a
Who was
blind
that?
magician.
A blind magician. Okay,
And I was
hell yeah.
nervous.
how did he know
How
he-
did you find him?
No,
Like, tell us
hold
a little
on.
bit about
Bro,
that.
How did
'Cause
he know he was performing the tricks?
How did he know?
Frank.
And it's gone. I'm like,
You know
dude,
why?
it's still there. It's still,
I mean,
I'm messing with you.
Go,
He's
well,
joking. Like,
yeah,
you would be
that's
messing with the
funny.
blind guy.
yeah, that's funny, Joseph. Don't listen to this podcast episode.
No.
He would laugh
He's
too.
cool.
He's
He's a super cool guy, bro.
right.
And he, like, I had to pick him up, and apparently he just left work,
Yeah.
and he showed up to my house. He's like, "You want some beer?" And he was just drinking alcohol in my car. I was like, "Bro," he's like, "I'm
Like,
blind,
you
not
drive
stupid."
Did you let him drive?
No, I was driving.
he was driving,
I was
yeah.
driving. No.
But in Utah, you can't have open.
That was in
container like
California,
shit.
bro.
Oh, that
It
in
was
California?
worse. Than,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, when I brought him on, I had like mics like this, and he would just turn around and talk to me, and I couldn't hear him. I was like, "Oh God."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, but he, what was your?
Well, I guess
question,
like
though?
how
Who was your first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about how you find guests for your
Yeah.
podcast is it's very spontaneous.
It is,
and,
bro.
and you'll look them up in like a phone book
Yeah.
or you'll find them.
I had my
Tell us a
old-
little bit about that.
I had my old
like how'd you
college
find the blind
professor.
guy?
That,
The blind magician. How'd you find him?
I asked my old college professor.
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Can you just find me? I'm starting a podcast. Can you help me out?" He's like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And this guy's a chef.
Okay.
And he teaches like just cooking. And he's like, "I know this guy is a magician. He's also blind. He's a sweet kid, and he has like extra sensory perception." I was like, "Whoa,
Very cool.
I was like, yeah, let's do it." So I had to go pick him up, bring him to my house,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, I've been blind my whole life.
Okay.
And then he's like, and I love doing magic because I love that awe moment in people.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, but I can't look at them. And he's like, I listen to the way they clap, and I could just sense things.
Yeah.
You can feel
And
it.
he's like, yeah. He's like, I had to develop this extra sense where he's like, when I talk to people, it's like I have to hone in on their auditory senses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I also have to just kind of feel it out whether they're threatening or not. Because he's like, some people don't care. Like, even if I'm blind, they'll take advantage of me. He's like,
Oh,
I have
shit.
to. It's like I had to develop that sense in me. And he started going into more detail how that works.
So what kind of magic did he do?
Yeah.
No, he just worked at the Magic Castle, bro. That's
Oh,
that's
oh.
what I mean by magic.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he
I
was a
thought you meant-
magician.
I thought you meant he was a magician too.
He is a magician.
Oh, he is.
He's a magician. He works at the Magic Castle.
What's the Magic Castle?
Oh, Magic Castle is a place where people get up and just do magic tricks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
It's kind of like a stand-up place.
it's like a
Yeah, yeah.
stand-up. Yeah, it's like a stand-up
Yeah.
comedian, but he does stand-up magic.
Okay.
Yeah,
very
it's called
cool.
the Magic Castle. It's in Hollywood.
Did he do any tricks on your show or no?
Actually, he
you think
did.
one day they'll have like a stand-up podcast thing?
Yeah. Maybe just get up there and
All
talk.
right, we're gonna talk about shit today.
Honestly, that probably
called
could
life.
happen. Yeah, seriously.
It's called a conference, Frank.
It's called the conference, the board of directors meeting.
So are you starting to see, like, as you're doing this Magic or Science podcast, certain people being attracted to you, or these situations
Yeah,
brought
bro.
to you very
Yeah,
much for
yeah,
like
yeah. More
specific
and more,
very
bro.
synchronistic You know what I mean?
Yeah, more and more, bro.
I
Like
bet.
some guy came back from India and he was like, dude, your podcast is awesome. And he was like this musician and he's like, can we talk about it? Like, can I jump on your podcast? I was like, bro, I'd love to. And I would go with him. And he's like, I have this other person that can read tarot cards.
Hell yeah.
And I have this other person that's a professor. You want to talk to them? And like more and more people are coming to me.
Yeah.
The thing was, I listened to Joe Rogan. He's like, bro, start a podcast. He's like, it will help you. And
Joe Rogan
Influenced-
told everybody to start a podcast.
yeah, he
didn't know
did.
that.
But here's the thing: there's a million podcasts.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't think your podcast is gonna be not successful. He's like, that's how shitty people think.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's like, have a positive outlook.
Yep.
And like I always do. And like more than anything, bro, like I'm learning from these people.
Absolutely.
Like I'm learning from you guys talk right
That's
now.
that's why we started this podcast. I once heard this phrase. It was like, if you want to learn something, go out and teach it. And so Frank and I were like, dude, let's do a podcast. This gives you an opportunity to learn more. Like what we do weekly, it's for us.
Hey, and I love your
You know?
podcast, bro. I always mention
No,
it.
and
I'm
thank
like,
you.
No,
And
no.
we
Well, here's
appreciate
the thing.
that.
When
And
I'm on,
it's
I always
mutual.
drive, bro. It was a 6-hour drive here. It was 10 hours from Utah to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Bro, I was listening to your podcast.
That's awesome.
And I was like, freaking Frank, bro. And
Frank the
like,
Quantum
talking
Tank.
about Karen. He's gonna get it.
Yeah, he's gonna get it.
But
I
here's the
love
thing.
to live dangerously. That's why I do.
Walk of that
I gotta
fine
be
line.
But here's
It's
the
like,
thing.
why do you do that? I'm like, well, it's good to be uncomfortable, honey.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man.
Uncomfortable.
I'm not married. I don't know.
And one day I woke up, she had the pillow on my head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Smothering your ass.
But I literally feel like I've never been here, but like I feel like I'm here with you guys because you guys just jump
Absolutely.
around. But here's the most
Absolutely.
important thing: you guys bring up all these interesting people that I don't even know about, bro.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to say I'm embarrassed because, but I'm not. I just don't know about them. But
No
Yeah.
one can know.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
too many
and
people.
Yeah,
there's,
it is,
and there's
bro.
no,
Way too
there's
many
no
people.
such thing as embarrassment. That's something we're like taught. Again, we're
Yeah.
taught to like feel awkward or feel this, and it's like no. Those are learned
Like,
things in
exactly.
society.
Yeah, you mentioned a scientist and magic guy today that me and Mike never heard
Oh,
of.
I can't wait to look up this Dean
Oh,
Radin
Dean
guy.
Radin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, that
so
guy's
I'm
next
saying,
level.
we're not embarrassed.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
thinking about driving there. Now, what I do sometimes, bro,
Yeah.
I even get, I don't want to say cocky, but like,
Yeah.
when I was in Peru or some other places, bro, I just show up to people's houses
Yeah.
with the backpack. I just knock on them.
That's
I'm
Shut
like,
up.
That's confidence. It's not cocky.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
I wouldn't
Bro,
describe that as
but
cocky
here's
at
the
all.
thing: they welcome me in, bro. He's
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean you have a podcast?" Like, you didn't want to call me or email me? I was like, "Nah, I thought I'd just show up." And he's like, "That's so 80s, bro." He's like, "Come in." He's like, "Come in."
so 80s.
I was like,
Get
"I'm like,
your ass in
I'm,
here.
yeah." He's like, "Honey, this guy's here to do a podcast."
Yeah, we
with
didn't
me."
have to have a Zoom meeting first, right?
Yeah,
That's badass.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then like people just welcome me. I'm like, bro, like all this preconceived notions that I had
I
about the
hope
world
we
being
get back
dangerous.
there. Like
Yeah.
when you just said, like that's so 80s. When I was a kid, and you would just go to somebody's house and knock on the door, and the reason was you didn't have cell phones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't let people
Yeah, you
know.
didn't you didn't wait to get invited. You just went. Now it's like I remember going to this guy's house. I just moved out here. We were friends, and we were good friends.
Yeah.
And I knocked on his door. He opens the door. He's looking around. He's like, "Is everything okay?" I'm like,
You
"Yeah."
know,
I was just in the neighborhood. I thought I'd stop by. He's like, "I'm kind of middle of something." I'm like, what are you burying a body? or
Yeah,
some
what
shit?
the
I'll
fuck?
help you. I'll help you dig the hole. And he's like, he couldn't.
He couldn't get
It was
that.
weird.
Yeah,
It was
he
weird.
couldn't- he couldn't get that.
Like, yeah, I'm like, okay,
I-
I'll see you later.
I have one buddy that does that. I have one buddy that and he'll show up. He'll knock on my door, leave a note,
Yeah.
and show up.
That's
and
awesome,
like,
bro.
But like it is awesome. It really is. And I
Yeah.
remember one time. This was like right before I woke up. 2016, 17. Those are some of my roughest years of my life. Hitting rock bottom, just not knowing what the fuck's
Congratulations,
going
bro.
on. And he showed up, man. And he knew I was in a bad space because I wasn't talking, I wasn't reaching out to people. And he wrote a note. Hey, Mike, here to check in on you. Call me. I can't even remember, but I think I like saved this note, and he like put it on my door, and it meant so fucking much to me.
well,
That's
somebody
awesome,
cared.
bro.
Well, because I was like, oh my, well, you just don't do that, especially
No.
in like our age group and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like he showed up and left a fucking note, and
That's
like I
awesome,
still go
bro.
see that guy.
It wasn't a
at least
text
every couple
message, it
months.
was a
no,
note.
Yeah, it was
It was
no
a note.
text message. It wasn't
That's
an
awesome, bro.
email. It wasn't
Yeah.
a fucking message, and it just meant so much to me. And
Yeah,
so there's
because-
something about
because
that.
he went out of his way
Yeah.
to come to your house and do it. He wasn't taking a crap and just
No,
writing you a
exactly.
note.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
bored.
But
Hey, let me text this person.
The younger now I have friends that are younger that we go camping. 'Cause
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
want to be young, bro. So I'm just with younger people.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and
like
it's good for them too.
when I call them, they don't pick up my phone calls, bro.
Oh,
I used
yeah.
to get
They only
offended.
text.
I'm like, what? Yeah, they only text.
Yeah.
And but when I text them, they always get back to me like this, bro. I'm like, bro, it's the younger generation. They just don't want to do that.
It really is. It really.
But
is.
I don't care. I still show up to people's houses.
Yeah.
I'll knock on your door.
Yeah.
If you
That's
kick me
cool as
out,
hell.
kick me out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now I have the confidence. You're right, bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
To go out of my comfort zone, show up to other people's houses, and risk the fact of getting rejected.
Well, and your intent plays a big role.
Now,
Like
can I
your
ask you,
intent is all good.
you knock on the door, do you have the headset on already with the
No,
mic?
bro. I'm like,
Ready to go.
I just knocked on like, sir, where can I plug this in?
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
Well,
the best spot?
we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. No, but they're usually happy, bro. Like I feel like, but maybe they open up the door. They're trying to have like a rude face, or like maybe I want to sell them something. But when I tell them what I want to do, I give them the card. They're like, yeah, man, let's do it. He's like, I don't have time now. Can you come
People
back?
are starving to talk about their lives.
Yeah.
Starving. That's why podcasts are big. Because the thing about podcasting, prior to podcasting, any broadcasting show we watched was done by a producer from a major network.
Yep.
That's it. So you had 60 minutes, you had Dateline or whatever, and you waited an hour, but yet you had to listen. So like, oh, that was pretty amazing, but it was an hour. With podcasts, it's like, especially Joe Rogan launching it the way he did, all of a sudden you're talking to everybody, and it's a 3-hour conversation with his a lot. And he gets
Not
into
scripted.
questions that no network would ever allow because
Yeah.
it might make people uncomfortable.
You smoke weed on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. That,
Yeah,
that's
drunk,
it.
you know? But here's the thing.
Oh, by the way, I put mushrooms in your water.
In your water.
No wonder I'm in a good mood. You know?
That's
You want me to
hilarious.
be enlightened? There you go. But the fact is, it wasn't supposed to work, but
Yeah.
it did, bro. And the guy didn't give up. Remember we were talking about this yesterday?
Yeah.
Some doctor came on this podcast like, hey, my friend started a podcast, but after 6 months he gave up. And he's like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
He's like, just keep at it, man. But that's anything in life. We could take that back to meditation. Imagine if I gave up meditation, bro.
Yeah.
I would be in the same shitty situation I was in.
Yeah.
I would have never come out of
point.
that.
But think about like me
Great
and Mike,
point.
like there's a point of looking at the podcast, and you probably do the same when you're looking at the numbers. Okay, what can I do to elevate it? But I even know at the heart of me, even if this never went anywhere, I like sitting down with Mike every week and talking.
And
Hell
I
yeah.
listen to you guys.
Yeah, and we don't have to have a beer. We don't have to have
Nope.
anything. And I just enjoy the process. Yeah, like it's great if it elevates up, and that's we're working on that too. But it's just the process, because when I first started doing this, the way we started was I was doing a meditation class, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And it was funny because like
I used to go to Frank's meditation classes.
you?
Yep.
Yeah, and there were people there, and all of a sudden COVID, then it went down to about 5 people, then down to 3 people. And Mike's like, "Is it okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't give a shit."
Well, everyone was freaking out about
I
COVID,
was
and me and
wrong.
Frank were kind of
I
like,
was
"Hey,
a-
we're still
And
getting
meanwhile, I'm
together."
trying to tell him, like, your meditations, and the breathing and everything you're doing is going to keep your immune system healthy. But everyone has their,
Ideas, narrative.
narrative, and they stop coming. But then they're like, I get calls. Hey, can you record them and put them online? And so then me and Mike were like, hey, we should do that. And then we just started, because we would record the meditation
very
part
natural.
too.
Yeah.
And then we started just doing a podcast. And the first podcast we did, we put the camera in there. We had no mics, no
No
nothing.
mic, just a
And
camera.
we're sitting there. It's like, hi, my name's Frank. Mike, how you doing today?
Well, the first,
That's how it fucking started, and I love it.
Probably was better than my episode. Mine was a
Love it.
blind guy, bro. And I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, the mic's right in front of me. You can't even see the mic, bro.
Oh, you couldn't even see
I didn't
the
even think
mic?
of the fact of saying,
Yeah,
there's
like
a mic
the-
right in front of me, touch it or something.
The
You know?
logistics,
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why I had the headset. I was like, this is not going to work, bro.
Yeah. So when you look at your first podcast to your recent one,
You've come a long way.
see a natural elevation.
Yeah.
So back to your point, anyone that's doing this, and we suggest people do it, because talking about, the more people get out there and talk about issues and stuff that they know, the more we'll know.
Yeah.
The universe is designed to more information that I know that's unique to me, and I put it into the universe by expressing it. The universe expands.
Hell yeah.
But if I hold it, it doesn't do anything. I must give it. So the more people out there that, again, we're not saying everyone, don't feel bad if you're not a podcast, to do something else. But if you want to talk and you want to do a podcast, do it.
Do it,
Just
bro.
don't. And then keep doing it, because we'll all here tell you, it always does this. It might do this, but it's never, we're not back to where we started.
Never.
We're elevated
Yeah.
beyond that point. But that's not the reason we're doing it. We get excited.
But that could apply to anything in life, bro. Imagine, like,
Everything.
you're a
100%.
lawyer. You hate your job. You want to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
By all means, like, you should somehow become an artist, because you should listen to your heart. There's
Yeah.
something special about listening to your
Yeah.
heart, bro.
There is.
It
There
doesn't
absolutely is.
guide you the wrong way.
No.
Well, your heart also has, and they've done study on this, Heart Math Institute. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about that all the time. But we have the same, what's it called? I don't know if they're neurons, but
Well, we
we
don't
have
have
like
the same-
50,000 neurons in our
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot more neurons in the brain, but 50,000 they never knew there were neurons in the heart.
But that, like, trust
That's
your heart,
huge.
trust
So
your
trust
gut.
your heart.
That's
So
what you're
yeah.
talking
I
about.
talked to a shaman, and he's all like, "Don't listen to your head, trust your heart." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Because your heart pumps blood into your brain." I was like, "Oh."
Well, not only that, the thoughts
That's a
that
great
are in your,
point.
Yeah.
the information that's in your head is from yesterday. The information from your heart is now.
Yeah, it is.
It's
bro.
different. It's more concise. The heart will tell you, do this. The brain will be like, hey, maybe we should think about
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Sit
yeah.
down later. And the heart doesn't do that. The heart is very concise. Do this. Now, the job of the brain is to be able to activate or actually put into place the doing part. So, because my brain learned English barely in school, and it enables me to discuss and talk about stuff. It also knows where the left-hand turn is, know how to calculate. If I can't calculate, I can find a calculator. Those parts are beautiful, but it doesn't need to figure out what I need to do next. My heart already knows. So that will inactivate the brain, and then the brain will know what to do.
Right. But
Yeah.
so now I have a niece. That's why I'm here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I'm thinking of different ways. Maybe that's to give me some advice to teach this kid. Like, you have everything in this world. You don't have to work hard for it. All you have to do is just truly manifest it.
Be the
Believe in
change.
yourself. Be the change.
That's all.
Yeah.
And this
can
kid
do.
is brand new, to the world.
Yeah.
Like fresh out of the box.
Fresh out of the
Well,
box.
what you're talking about, man, I do this same thing with my niece and my nephews.
Awesome.
So I have one niece,
Awesome.
she's 8, 9. I got 2 nephews, he's 7, and then my sister just had a new one. He's almost 2 or around 2. And I always ask myself that same question. I'm like, how can I best give them the information I wish I had, to understand that there's more than just this conditioned way of life that we're taught to live. But I be there. I'm
Yeah.
fully present when I'm with them, and that's what I'm doing.
Because part of the conditioned life isn't wrong. So it's where, like, remember The Secret came
Totally.
out?
Yeah.
A lot of people sat on the couch and imagine a check coming, and it never fucking came.
Yep.
Because you cannot separate the two. Just like you can't separate the right hemisphere from the left hemisphere, I think you're going to live a great life. You will not.
Yeah.
You if you're just living in right brain, jumping off a building would be great.
Yeah.
It'd be fucking fabulous.
Splat.
But that's the last thing you'll ever do.
Yep.
Yeah. There was a neuroscientist woman that had a seizure, and the left brain was shutting down, and she was in La La Land. But then it would kick in, call the ambulance.
Yeah, she described it, right?
Yeah, so she was able to walk through it.
That was a cool one.
So the enacting, going into it, imagine what you want, but creating a discipline of doing stuff. That's why, like, even making your bed. So not only make your bed, make it as pristine as you can. And I'm using this example because it involves detail and focus. Detail and focus is what makes us successful. Not working 80 hours. It's what am I doing in those 80 hours? Am I concentrating? Am I focused? If I'm wearing myself out, I'm doing something wrong. But it's not just about sitting down on the beach just wishing everything come to you either. Because it's not the thing, because we're still like saying, okay, you can get everything you want. But we don't want things. We want feeling. What's feeling? It's vibration. And what helps me vibrate? If I'm working on something, like sewing something, I'm not thinking.
Yeah.
When I'm working with my clients, I'm not thinking. I'm in this beautiful state.
Yeah.
It's a state I want. So there is an enactment of a discipline that will allow that to slip in. And then all of a sudden, when you realize that, wow, now you actually elevate beyond that. Like, okay, this is flowing. So when I'm working, I'm not even thinking. I'm in this dance.
Yeah,
musicians
you're in a state of
don't
flow.
think. You know this. Yeah. Mike used to be in a band.
Nice.
Yeah, musicians don't think. They play.
No, I vividly remember
And they
that. When you
sync.
get out on
They
stage,
sync,
it's almost like you forget when you the experience there.
Could you
You're not there.
Could you imagine as a musician, say you do a 2-hour gig, you have to count for 2 hours?
Yeah, right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You're going to go nuts. Your body already knows how to count. It's already in the thing. You get into rhythm, you get into a feeling, and then it takes off. And you're
it
connected
flows.
to all the other musicians in the band. You're not thinking.
Yeah.
You're just in that state. But yet, in order to get there, Mike had to learn guitar. He's a guitar player, and he had to play it. And then all of a sudden, over time, at first it was very structural. Then it was also, it's like, okay. But so there's an aspect of it. And every time, like martial arts is great for this.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start somewhere in martial arts. But eventually, when you get to a master level, there's always this new nuance that you didn't do yesterday. How can I push that away. It's a nuance.
That's how I felt about meditating.
Cause nuances.
I'm staying in a hotel and it has a nice couch, and I don't have a couch in my room. I mean, it has like a single person couch, what they call it, like a cushion, like a lazy boy couch.
Yeah.
And I did a meditation there, and it was completely different.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have my legs crossed.
Yeah.
And I was sitting upright, and I was like, this is different, but it felt good too.
Yeah.
But
there's no wrong way of anything.
It's not really the wrong way to meditate.
And I think too, it's like when you practice something for a little bit, like you get bored. I'm like, well, add a nuance.
Yeah.
Add a nuance, because we have to make it our own. Like anyone that's ever played anything or practiced anything, they had a teacher teach them, and then they get to a point where the teacher's like, now make it your own. Because I can't carry it from here. Mm-hmm. I could teach you a guitar, I could teach you the chords, I could teach you that. But then what you do with the chords, how you strum it, what cadence you do, that's yours. You gotta leave the teacher and go elevate. Just like all the practices. Like the religion's great, but you have to step out of the religion to actually experience the spirit. Yeah.
That reminds me of the time I meditated at a rave. It was
what?
At a rave?
Yeah, because there's
I've
so
never
much
been to a
electricity.
rave. I've never been to one.
It's like a house party.
Oh no,
but
yeah,
like 20 times bigger.
Yeah,
it's
with like
probably
house
awesome.
music. Yeah, it is awesome. But like all these people are like their energy spiked, and the DJ's playing music, and I was like, dude, I wonder what would happen if I just sit down and meditate in the corner. Mm-hmm. And I did, and I was like, I could just feel the energy, bro, and it was just spiking in me. I was like, bro, I am connected to this world and everyone around me.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Like I was like, everyone was touching me, and I was touching them, and it was just love, bro.
Well, that's why a lot of people go to those, and to some cases, people will take some type of medication to get into that state, like MDMA.
Yeah.
But if they don't, if you just sit there, what happens is everyone starts moving at the same time. That's cohesiveness. That's heart. And all of a sudden, that's why they like.
Well, that house music has a very distinct backbone beat.
But here's the thing: we did a breathing exercise before our podcast, and all three of us at one point were synced and breathing at the same time.
I fell asleep.
Oh yeah.
Did you? I was kidding.
He's just teasing.
Mike's like,
I know.
I had to put up with the shit for the last 2 years.
I was like, there's no way you were falling asleep during
I was like, really?
Plus, we were super in sync. I know what you're talking about. I remember that moment.
Yeah.
And you're right. And it's those moments where you're like, oh, there.
Yeah. And that's what we come here to collaborate rather than war. When you do that, it is so much greater. But yet, when you come into a tribal situation, collaborate, but you bring your own individual setting, so you don't separate individualism from tribalism. It's brilliant. Up till now, it seems like history is like, what is it? Should we go back to tribalism, or should we stay with individualism? I'm like it's both. When I'm involved with a group of people, my individualism is part of that group. It adds to it. It doesn't detract from it. And my essence, even like in Blue Oyster Cult, the cowbell guy had a position.
He still had a position.
He still had a position.
Cool.
Yep. Hell yeah. So, Kerop, one of my favorite things about Magic or Science is the guests you interview are truly fascinating.
Yeah,
like I've never heard of them, I've never seen them, anything like that. But you'll also push yourself to even put yourself in uncomfortable positions. And I want to bring up one specifically for the audience, which is the time you went and stayed. You're gonna have to remind me where, but it was when you did the dark room.
I already know.
The dark room.
The dark room.
And this was a thing when I saw and heard about what you were doing with this, I was blown away because the premise was you had to go to this you went to this retreat area place, you stay in a room, you're in complete darkness for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days. They bring you food to your dark room, and you don't leave. You see no natural light, right?
Bro. They just drop it in some hole.
Wait, you're dropped into a hole?
All right,
go ahead.
Here's the whole
So,
story.
I just wanted to tee it off for the audience.
So you interviewed
somebody while he was there. I remember it.
Well, he interviewed the woman before. It was a young girl,
before
right?
and after.
Yeah, before. Because I remember that's what got you to do it, right? Because I think when you were interviewing, like, I'm going to try this.
I wanted to do it. I was at a Joe Dispenza meditation course.
Yeah.
And what happened is I always thought about doing it for a day or two, and I interviewed the manager there.
Yeah.
That's what
and
it was.
I was like, I'm
going
to do it. Yeah, her name was Ruth.
Oh.
So,
you met her at the Dr. Joe?
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Not the same one we met at, the other one.
Okay, new one.
In April.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to do this. And the reason I want to do it was pretty for the wrong reason, because I always want to experience the mystical.
Yeah.
I do it because you want to pay electricity.
Yeah,
a little bit of electricity.
Save a little bit.
That was. I mean, it cost me more to get to Guatemala.
So you're in Guatemala,
and so it's this dark room you go into. It's specially built where there's no sound, there's no light, And you don't get out. You lock out the outside world from the inside out.
Okay,
and
so
you're
you
in there
lock
for
it.
days and nights. And then you just...
How do they keep the light from getting in? Because you go
they
down?
already built it. Yeah, you go down a couple stairs,
Uh-huh.
and it's completely built that way. There's no sound or light.
That's
There's
freaky.
nothing, bro. It
So
is
when they
blacker.
when they bring your food, how do they put it in there? How do they get
Bro,
it in?
it's a double door,
Oh,
and then
they close it.
They drop it somehow, so there's not even light.
So you
just
don't
in
even
case-
see the light from that coming in?
No, bro, you don't even
Oh
hear the
my
food
gosh.
dropping. So like,
Oh
you're
my
like checking every so often.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so like the blind guy would have no problem with that, right?
Oh,
He's
hell
there,
no.
bro.
Yeah.
But he's always there.
Yeah, he's
That's
always
it.
there.
He's
That's
always
it.
there, so
Yeah.
he had to use his other senses.
Yeah.
One thing, so when I was there doing it, it was so dark, bro, when I was meditating. First, I don't even know how long I was meditating for.
Yeah.
And when I opened my eyes, it was so black. I'm like, are my eyes open or closed right now? So
Yeah,
I
you
could touch
couldn't
my
even-
eyes
You couldn't even
to
tell.
see. It was
Wow.
that dark. And when you fall asleep and you wake up, this has never happened to me, but I lost train of time.
Yeah.
I don't have a clock or phone with me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, what time is it? How long did I sleep? And the first time, it didn't really bother me.
Uh-huh.
But when I took another nap and I woke up, I was like, oh, that's it. Like, time ceases to exist while I'm in here.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I've thought of that. Like, time ceases to exist. For
Do you know
me,
why?
time doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I believe it's because when you're in the dark, you stop producing serotonin. Serotonin is what indicates time, and melatonin is night. Serotonin is day.
Yeah.
So you just lost that.
Yeah.
You know, I'd wonder, like, when they study that, like, obviously, are you not producing serotonin? I wonder if that would be a study.
Well, what did she tell you when you interviewed her before? What did she say the benefits, or what did she say about
She
this
said-
retreat
She
style
said one
thing?
thing important. She said, this isn't going to give you what you want.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to give you what you need.
Okay.
And I was like, that bastard was right.
Yeah, you're like, hell yeah, I'm up
Yeah,
for
because I didn't last. Apparently, I paid for like 6 days
Mm-hmm.
or 6 nights.
Okay.
And I didn't want to stay that long, so I just left after about a little bit over a day.
Okay. 26 hours,
Yeah,
you told me,
like
right?
26 hours. I
See,
stayed
that's,
one complete
that's a
day.
long ass time,
Yeah,
man. In the
it was,
complete
bro.
dark.
It was, and you have to understand, time stops. So, like, all your thoughts, all your subconscious
Yeah.
things that are stuck in your mind come out.
Uh-huh.
Not just like I didn't have that much stuff because I worked through it during meditation,
prior, yeah.
but
Yeah.
it just got boring in there. And plus, it's not like you're doing your taxes.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah,
do
yeah.
anything. Like, you do yoga, and like I've never had the experience of I don't know what time it is for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You always know what day it is. At least by the day, you know, like, all right, today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
Imagine you forget that. There's no such thing as Tuesday anymore. It doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
What do you do at that point?
Well, and that's honestly the real world. We
That
we
is-
were taught
yeah.
what Tuesday
Yeah, it
is.
is.
We were
It
taught
is.
what time
Yeah,
is.
the
We
concept.
live under this weird
Yeah,
social
we does.
construct
We
of
does.
time. You know,
Yeah.
and so I read this article yesterday. NPR put it out, and it was we have a place called it's like INST, and it's the National Institute of something time or whatever, but it's in Colorado. And it is where they broadcast our signal everywhere to all over the U.S. It's where our time is from.
I would like to mess with that.
Yeah, I know, right? So like they're the ones who keep the atomic like the clock and all time, all the markets, all schools, everybody is off of this Colorado where this is broadcasted from in Colorado. Well, the people working there, the NPR guest is interviewing me. He's like, the way we've been taught time as human beings. It's not absolute. We're taught that it's like this absolute thing.
Yeah.
It's not. I work around time. My job is time. And he's like, time is a human construct that we created. And he's like, in fact, time in areas is different based on the way space-time bends. And Albert Einstein, talked about all this. And he's like, so there's areas like specifically Colorado. He's like, we're 2,000, 7,000 feet above whatever.
Yeah,
and
gravity
he's like,
has to do it.
we're actually a couple seconds really slower than the time we're reporting. And he's like mentioning this, and he's like,
So we're smarter, close to the. No.
yeah, I know, right? So what he said though is he goes,
This one.
at the end of the day, he was like, this is a way for an authoritative person to come in and set the stage. This is the time you work off of. This is the time you have. This is markets open, schools closes, doctors come in. We create the stage you live on. And this is somebody who works for the freaking
Well, they know,
time
yeah,
people.
but yet they still clock
and
in
yeah,
every day.
Yeah, and he still clocks in. But what he was saying is like this time is not what we're taught, and that
No.
so for listeners at home, that was a hard thing for me to learn about and swallow. Like I didn't understand how past, present, future is all in the same, but it is. And when you dive into this, and you can it's more opening your eyes, and it's just looking at it from a different way. But what we're taught what time is not absolute. And this is coming directly from the people who issue us our time.
Even with countries, bro.
Yeah.
It would like in the United States, we're taught at 5 o'clock, you're there 5 minutes, 10 minutes early. If you're on time, you're late.
Yeah.
And I like that concept, bro, because everyone is on the same concept.
Yeah.
In different countries, like my old country,
Yeah.
they're like, we'll get there an hour late.
Oh.
This, that. If we don't get to it today, it's okay. Like, time is not like a straight line.
Yeah.
For them, time is a circle. It's like,
yeah.
if we don't get to it today, tomorrow. That's why the roads don't get done.
Yeah, right.
And so it varies for people and culture and religion too, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I remember I had it when I was young. I mean, I was like 12 or 11. Or no, I was somewhere like 13 or 14. I had to go to Mexico for a while, and they look at time totally different in
Like
Mexico.
Joe Dispenza even says, he's like, oh yeah, the wedding's in the afternoon. Like, what time in the afternoon? He's like, oh, in the afternoon. You know,
Yeah,
like,
afternoon.
But I believe if you correct me if I'm wrong. When you're in that society, you don't see it to be wrong.
No, hell no. No,
Yeah.
for you, it's normal.
It's normal.
Yeah.
But it's irritating when you're like, oh, let's just all get together at 4 p.m.
But
and
I'm
people
saying-
start showing up at 5:30.
But I'm saying like it would be irritating here because we're very
It's just the way we're
Yeah,
taught.
yeah, yeah.
we're very
Conditioned.
taught. But if you're living there, we're very we're very
Yeah.
tardy. Or
So they
wanna be,
purposely say, like, let's say you're supposed to meet at 4 p.m. They purposely say 3.
Yeah, right.
And then people kind of think that it's supposed to start at 4, so they come at 5. You're like, what time does it start?
Yeah,
we
seriously.
invented the word tardy. So if you're late, you get in trouble. But
Yeah.
like there, it's like you show up when you show up.
Yeah.
The thing about like when did they actually invent the clock time and it came into existence? It wasn't that long ago.
No, probably like 250 years ago, right?
No, well,
300
what about
years ago.
the dial with the time, with the sun?
Well,
that's more for the days, though, right? And for months?
Yeah, that's been around. I'm saying as far as the average person, but the thing is, when that sundial was over here in some other place, it was different somewhere else. We now know where time is.
Yeah.
They actually invented time to anticipate time for the railroads.
Okay.
So they need to know when the train was going to arrive so people could be there.
Well,
Okay.
here's another thing that I learned at Joe Dispenza's. Time is, we have abundance of time.
Yeah.
If I'm running late somewhere, bro, and I just take a minute and I go back to the present moment, and I'm like, hey, dude, I'm not going to be late. I have a bunch of time. Everything's going to work out. Somehow, I show up early.
Okay,
Like-
so what you're describing is 100% true. Dr. David Hawkins talks about this. I've multiple people. He would talk about leaving Phoenix and arriving back in Sedona within 10 minutes.
You remember that?
And I was like, what?
Remember
Yeah.
that-
This is a 2-hour drive for people who don't know. No, longer than that, 2.5 hours.
Remember that guest guy Kai we had on?
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
explained with Maharashi.
Yeah,
he was getting a shave or something, and he was talking to his barber, and the barber's like, "Yeah, I wish my kid would come home or something like that." And all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh, give me a moment." He ran out, came back like 5 minutes later. Next thing you know, his kid was coming home, and he's like, "What made you come home?" He's like, "This crazy guy came up to me." Meanwhile, he was like 200 miles away.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He goes,
It's
this
a
crazy
story-
guy came up to me
Came and
with
told me
half a
you-
shaved face.
Half a shaved face says your dad needs you to come
Dad-
home.
Dad needs
so
you
he
to come
came home. But meanwhile, his lapse from the barber to getting a shave was like 5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but that just tells us that time and space are not what we think it
Yeah,
is.
and then again, I can't reiterate this more, and this is why I brought it up. The NPR guy, it's a position of control and authority. If you control the time, you control everybody's
Yeah.
narrative.
Yeah,
But
and
then-
the money, bro.
And that's why we're raised and taught this, because, hey, we need good little worker bees.
Yeah.
We need people to build my roads so I can drive on them.
Until
you
we
know?
transcend out of it. So like there are people that go to work every day and do whatever, but they're not confined. They're freer than anyone because they're like, well, what else am I going to do?
But you see how they hold themselves to that clock where, like Kerop just said, like, I'll just say, everything's going to work
But
out.
it's
I'm not going to
happened
stress. And then he
numerous
gets
times,
there.
bro.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah, but
happened
like
numerous times.
yeah, something you know is
yeah,
possible.
but you still did it within the confines of the time.
Yeah.
So
It
you
did.
had the measurement said it worked out, but it worked out within
But he
the time.
he
But
set
he
the
just
stage.
blew my mind.
Yeah.
He just did
Yeah.
a perspective shift.
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
how is
I do it when I slow down time.
Yeah.
Maharashi did it. He
sped
sped
up
up
time.
Why would you want to speed up time though?
Yeah.
Well, he
Or
slowed,
jumped into a
he
future.
slowed it down for the barber.
Mm-hmm.
So however you want to look at it, he went off 200 miles and told this kid, "Hey, come see your dad," and came back. So he slowed time down.
Total perspective shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's it. But again, it's like, what's the purpose of that? I'm like, there isn't any. It's just when you understand the concept of time, don't be like, oh, I'm a slave to time. Like, only if you believe you're a slave to
Correct.
time.
Yeah.
That's
don't
it.
don't think time will still exist because the universe didn't really offer up time. It offered up timing. Every frequency is a timing. When the coexist with other frequency. So we're all about timing. So what created time, right? A pendulum. What's a pendulum do? It keeps timing, right? That's all it does. 1, 2, 3. So that's what a pendulum does. It creates time.
I don't want you guests to also miss the point. Like, if you're late, the world's not gonna blow up.
Yeah.
You know, like you're putting all this pressure on yourself.
No.
So if you're late, nothing that bad is gonna happen.
No.
But it's always good to show.
And that's the way you allow yourself to let go, and then kind of bypass time
that's
altogether.
That's exactly how I do it, bro. I was
you know?
like, oh, I have abundance of time. Even if I'm late, what's gonna happen? Nothing. And then like I know I'm running late, bro.
Yeah.
I show up and I'm still early.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Well,
this just happened.
A lot of people that are late on the constant don't want to be where they are.
No, I'm always early.
No, I'm saying when they do these studies, and I know it just from my business, the people that show up right on time or a little bit late, they don't want to be there. They don't want to be there. They're sitting on the couch or want to be somewhere else, but they have to in their mind. So they're not getting a lot out of it. But when they come in, I see a shift once they start working with people. All of a sudden they forget why they want to be there. So I'm like, well, why don't you set that before you come in? Like, remember how good it is to feel. Like, yeah, but when I first come in, I'm like, because you're in your head. But yet, when you're a couple hours in, you love it. Why not anticipate, like the kid that gets excited about going to the amusement park isn't at the amusement park yet. Knowing that when you get there, you're going to be around people and it's lively and stuff like that. Why don't you anticipate that prior to coming? You won't be late. Because when they're late, they're actually adding more stress to themselves until the point they forgot they were late and they're excited. It's a human psyche is what it is. Yeah.
Kerop, tell us about your like, what is one interview that you've done for Magic or Science that for listeners at home, like that you'd be like, check this one out, that maybe impacted you the most or gave you the biggest perspective shift, like, or like
there's this guy
you're proud of or whatever.
There's this guy I built a relationship with. He's a neuroscientist at the University of Utah. His name is Rishi. Okay. I just like talking to him because his specialty is perception, how we perceive things.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: he's a scientist studying in the Western world, but he's Indian, so he has an Eastern belief. And his grandfather's like 104 years old, and he still meditates like 4 hours a day. Yeah. And he's like super healthy, and he's like, all these things I'm studying, and he's like, we live in a virtual reality world, like a simulation world. I was like, bro, what are you talking about?
Sims.
Like, yeah. He's like, we're on air. He's like, there's all this evidence to prove it. There's latency in your brain. There's latency in your emotions. So
if I could move fast enough, I could put my hand through you right now. We're vibrating. So I remember when somebody once told me, you can take all the matter in the world and put it in when you remove the space from it, you can put it all in a sugar cube. Yeah. That's how much matter, like actual physical stuff is here. There's nothing. No. We're nothing. We're all light and air and moving particles so fast we look and appear as dense and thick. And that's how we experience it because we're in control of this instrument that we call our body, and we experience touch, and I can feel this table. And
it's because it's electromagnetic field.
But we don't. My hands aren't touching; they are repelling. You know, the magnetic field, and like that's crazy.
One thing, maybe I could get your advice on this. That bothers me is, because I'm always meditating. I'm always trying to like improve myself, or just like vibrate at a higher frequency. When I come back home, I feel like people are always stuck in the same place, bro, and they're not getting better, bro.
Well, know this. Check this out. When you notice people stuck in the same place, it means you move further. Yeah. So don't look down on them, but look at yourself as that's how higher you've gone. Right. If I climb up the mountain, I'm like, man, that valley's getting small. Yeah. It means you've moved.
But these are like friends, family, sister, and I do want to reach out and help them. But I feel like first of all, they're too lazy for it, and they don't also believe in this stuff.
There's no such thing as an empirical lazy person. Lazy people will not do something because it doesn't work. That's smart. That's intelligent. They don't think it will work. That's why they don't do it. We call them lazy.
But it does work. Well, meditating does work.
It only works if you do it.
Yeah.
That's it. It works both ways. Yeah. And so what you're describing, I experienced so much because I saw this with my family and my friends. And what clicked for me was Neville. And Neville taught me this trick where it was I came back and I knew I was elevating. And I'd look at them and I would be telling myself the same narrative of them from when I was in that space. Yeah. So if you want to see a change in your parents or in your family, and I do this with my family now, my parents, my brother, and everything, you have to picture them in that different state.
Exactly.
And when you visualize them in the different state, then it starts changing. You
That's
actually
the
can
power we
affect your
have.
parents
But if
and your sisters and siblings
Yeah.
and all that, everything.
If you start telling them you need to read this book, read that book, you're just going to aggravate the shit out of them.
But they ask me, and then I
Oh,
tell
and you
them.
can have a great conversation.
Sometimes they ask me, and then
no, if
I
they
tell
ask
them,
you, it's different.
but they still don't do it.
But-
I'm like,
but-
what the fuck would you even ask me?
Start to picture your
Yeah, but-
father, your mother meditating.
yeah, but check this
Start to
out.
My dad
visualize
does
that.
meditate.
Yeah,
Apparently he
See,
used
that's
to.
great.
But
Yeah.
check this out, and I can only speak for myself because no human being actually knows another human being. We only have concepts. I myself did that until one day I started doing it. That is their journey, and this is your journey. And some reason, this cosmic place you're in it, but don't think we're better or
No.
worse. So they're exactly where they need to be because there's some guy right now that could probably levitate across this room and look at us like we're a bunch of idiots.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
look
yeah.
at these
And
guys
if he
walking.
came in and he's like, "Oh, you're not leaving this room till you levitate," we'll be like, "Fuck you, buddy."
Yeah.
So
I would stay in the room and try to
yeah,
levitate,
but
bro.
I'm saying, or
We
you might be aggravated and leave after 26 hours.
Yeah.
We don't know. We have to have the freedom to do that. So, but there is a transference that we have. It's called prayer. If you can close your eyes and see them, because what it is if someone's sitting there doing something what we consider archaic, but they're happy, leave them alone. But if someone's doing something, you could see they're immensely stressed. Okay, this is why we want to get involved. Then you have to go into your brain or into your imagination and see them already having what it is they want, not what you want. You should not have a concept and tell someone how they live. You want them to be happy because they want to be happy.
Like you told me, or you said on this podcast, the homeless guy. You're not going to go lecture him about enlightenment and give him a sandwich.
No, for all I know, the homeless guy's looking at me like I'm the moron going to work.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know.
Going,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
look at all these
yeah,
people
yeah,
working
yeah.
for this. I just get it.
I'll never look at homeless people again after watching the third installment of John Wick.
Oh, yeah, you told me about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You
Weren't
ever
they
see that,
actually,
man?
like, spies or
They were
something?
like-
The underworld,
The other world, like
the guy's wearing a Rolex and he shoots two people.
Yeah, they're freaking homeless people, presumably, but they're like they're
They're hitman.
the hitmen.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
every
have an
time-
underworld.
That's why I pay him off now.
But
Be nice to him.
No
bro.
joke.
Man, somebody.
I used to feel
Here's
that
a
exact
sandwich.
same way, Kerop. I'd be like, God, why doesn't my brother? Why didn't somebody just get this? And then then it was Neville one day where he was like, you have the ability to change other people's perspectives. And so I started to do that. I started to picture him like my brother in this happy place. I started to picture him feeling good. And like, it was crazy. Like within that next week, he was like coming up to me like, all this great stuff happened with work. And he was in a better spot. And I'm like, what is going on? This is so cool. So we can interact with all that.
Yeah.
So use your mental image and project what you want to see in them and watch. It's kind of cool.
Well, it was almost like the story you told us earlier about your parents taking you to that witch doctor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So when I was a kid,
So you can become a witch doctor to your. That's if they want to change.
Of course.
yeah.
If they want to change, you can do that, but you don't sit there intellectually. Intellectually is good, but like we talk about stuff, but I only like even what I talk about doesn't get you any close. It might move you in a direction, but I can't explain or define God, but I can experience that. But I know I'll never be able to explain it. I can barely explain shit to Karen every day.
Yeah. Well, like,
Explain this podcast, sir.
but there's like something very, very like deep about this. And what I mean by that is Maharishi probably said it the best. And he said, there is no other. And when you really get to the bottom of that, it's as deep as it gets. And
There is no.
this entire experience is all happening in each of our heads.
There's one.
No one exists in
There's one-
that.
yeah, there's
There-
one
there's
universal
one
mind.
source, etc.
Yeah.
There is no other. So we have the ability to truly affect things. We don't perceive it or that way because we don't allow ourselves to. We're kind of staying within this thing. But like when I heard him say that, like there is no other, was so powerful for me because it's the truth. Everything that's going on right now, it's all happening in our mind.
Yeah, it is. It's a
And
depiction.
so,
We're just
like
we're
even the story that we had about our parents, you
Yeah.
know, and them having us and raising us and all this. That's a great narrative, and it's attachment, and it's something, but it's also,
It is.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can, let it all
you
go,
know,
huh?
and that's the deepest shit about this. When you
your
go
mind?
so deep, you're like, oh my god, I am everything. I'm experiencing all of this,
So the next time,
and that sounds crazy to
Yeah.
people.
So one of the things is, and I do this too. The next time I go into a situation where I like, okay, every time I go there, like I feel good, but when I get there, there's people aggravating me. So I checked myself. The next time I did that, I go in there and I'm like, I'm going to completely look at it differently, and everyone changes.
Yeah.
It's because I'm waiting for them to bother me, now it bothers me.
Did everyone change, or did you change?
Well, that's what he's getting at. That's what he's getting at.
No,
you know?
I'm saying, like, who cares?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
What way do you
Okay,
want to
cool.
look at it? Tomato, tomato.
If they have to change, I have no control, none whatsoever. But if I change my perception and they change, that's my control.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and what I mean is,
you can have it any way you
other
want.
people might be like, they're still acting the same. I'm like, yeah, but like you said anymore, the guy cut you off. Yeah. But what changed? You didn't.
The way you experience it.
You didn't care.
So you're going to experience your family.
There's going to be
your
more
friends.
people turn me off, bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not going to just lash out on them.
Yeah, but one day the guy that cut you off, he might pull up and say sorry. Now that's your next
That's
podcast.
actually happened to me, bro.
Your next podcast.
I had a car that broke down on me as I was exiting the freeway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some guy pulled over because he was behind me, honking at me. He pulled over because I couldn't. The car broke down, bro. I couldn't drive it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm stuck. It's raining
You're
outside. I don't want to
sorry.
get out of the car. And he got out. He cussed me out, and then he pulled over, and I was like, "Are we about to get into a fight?" He came,
Yeah.
He came. He's like, "Bro, he's like, is your car broken? Do you need help?" I was like, "Yeah, actually, I do."
Yeah.
And he got out in the rain. He pushed me.
He
He's like,
probably realized what he was doing.
yeah.
Well, yeah, he probably was like, shit, man.
I was like, "That's
Like
awesome,
I've been in
bro."
that spot before too. Well, speaking of cars, real quick, I like to share this because it's awesome. I forgot who said it, but I think it was Chris Rock. He was like, when you get broken down, or when you break down in a car, and you're waving, trying to wave somebody down, nobody pulls over. But when you get out and you start fucking pushing, everybody starts pulling over, and they'll push with you. It's people want to see people helping themselves.
They don't want to see victims.
They don't want to see victims, and that's the truth.
Wow.
And that was so powerful. I was
Yeah.
like, hell yeah, Chris Rock, he's right. When don't just stand up there, oh, help me. No, get out and start pushing,
Yeah.
and people will pull over and start pushing with you. People want to help people get where they want.
Yeah, victimizations are very uncomfortable for people to watch. That's why we want to save victims.
Yeah.
We want to help their life out and just give money and do that stuff because we don't want to see it.
Yeah, we don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, because
It
why
feels weird.
a victim? What is that? It's a concept of me. Do I want to be a victim? No. There's situations in life that people can't explain that happened to them, and they were unfortunate situations. But and then we become resourceful to get out of it.
Yep.
We like that. But when you just sit there and still telling the story, like, hey, what's going on in your life? It's like, well, 5 years ago. I'm like, 5 years ago?
That's exactly what happened to me.
She broke up with you 5 years ago, and you're
And
still
you've been
talking
carrying
about
that
it?
shit for
I'm like,
5
I don't want to hear
years.
Yeah,
about it.
that's a
Like,
problem.
Then you're like, you're cruel, man. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, if she broke up with you 5 minutes ago, I get it.
Yeah.
5 years ago? No.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We don't, because we don't want that for ourselves. We want to, it's why we watch James Bond. Why do you watch James Bond or Laura Croft, right? It's because whatever situation they're in, they're holding the same perspective on life, or this whole
Cool, calm,
disposition.
collected temperament.
Their
Yeah.
disposition's very calm. Whether they're having a martini at the bar or they're running from bullets, or ducking bullets. The reason we watch that is because we know that's who we want to be. Do we dare to do it? Do we dare to let go? And that's why you're sitting there watching. Okay, why do we watch superheroes? Because we are them. If we weren't them, it would be like, what the hell is this guy flying around, getting shot and just bouncing off? I don't get this. We're watching it because we want to become that. The truth is we already are that, because you wouldn't recognize something you were not. Yeah. We just fool ourselves into thinking we're not. We are already that. You couldn't recognize something you are not. You can literally claim yourself to be abundant and wealthy right now. Prove to me you're not. Tell me a story. Well, I only have this. I'm like, so what? What's the gauge, right? If a millionaire, it's like a millionaire can then say he's broke. Why? Because his buddy is Elon Musk. He's worth $300 billion. I only have $1 million. I'm broke. Wow, it's a weird story to be telling. It's an illusion. It's all it is. But the great thing about the universe with the great illusion is if I have $5, and me and Mike talk about this all the time, and I dare to claim that I'm abundant, that 5 turns into 10, then to 10,000, then to 150. But if I have $5 and claim to be poor, it turns into 250. Now I owe $5. Now I owe 10 grand.
And Kerop knows this. This is what he did when he
This
got
is
back
the
from that
physics.
6-month trip.
Yeah.
The physics
That's exactly
never
what he did.
changes. It's my perception in the direction I want to go. So $5 is just an arbitrary thing. If I say I'm abundant, that $5 cannot stay $5 in my life. It has to elevate.
That's awesome, bro.
That's
Now
Same way you
convinced me
went
to buy a
10
house.
to 20 to 50
But
to
now,
et cetera.
now you just what it is we have to stay steadfast. Like you get moments of it's like, oh, I can't afford it. Well, bam, that's you just went 5 feet. Now you went back 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, I'm abundant. You go 5 feet, and you go, I can't afford it. You went back 2. All right, no big deal. Catch yourself. I can afford it. I just don't know how to figure it out. Not your job. Keep moving.
Yep.
Go another 5 feet. Not your job. Keep going. And all of a sudden, situation, circumstance come up. Like you started your podcast. Who did you hell did you know you're going to meet me at the thing to have the podcast?
Didn't,
Correct.
I did, and we
Yeah.
keep in contact. It's
Yeah.
been about a year, bro. It was in January.
Exactly.
Yes, January, yeah. So here we are, and we don't know, but we recognize it when it's working.
Mm-hmm.
We recognize it when it's not
Well,
working.
you can feel it.
Yeah.
We're human
That's-
beings are pattern recognition beings.
Mm-hmm.
We recognize patterns, and we recognize if a pattern is working or if it's not working. Like in music, right? There's beautiful patterns. Then there's ugly patterns like sirens.
Mm-hmm.
Those are patterns of frequency, sound frequency that are interfering. You don't want to sit at a concert listening to that. But, hey, if there's an emergency, it's a good thing that sounds that way. It wakes people up.
That reminds me of Einstein and Bohr and quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
When Einstein's like, no, quantum mechanics doesn't work because God doesn't play dice with the universe. And Bohr's like, stop telling God what to do.
Yeah. yeah.
That's sick.
Well,
'Cause you can't
it's
comprehend it.
it's presuming
Yeah,
we know
just
what
'cause of
God's
the
doing.
space.
We have
Yeah,
no
yeah.
idea. We have no idea.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
But stop trying to understand it in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun to try to dip into that, but, you have to let go because it will drive you mad. I think
will.
that's the way the
It
idea
will.
of the mad scientist comes from.
Well, the thing of the that probably the thing
Great
of the
insight.
time, bro.
They're trying to figure it out, and, you can't. So
The fact that I can bend time,
Yeah.
and I've done it, bro, a couple of times.
Yeah.
Like I can't explain how I do it.
No.
I can explain what it goes in my mind, but I don't know how that happens, bro. But I'm always early. I'm like, how does this happen, bro? I'm actually early. I thought I was gonna be like an hour late.
Well, everyone does it. Right now, do you know how much time we've been on air?
Yeah, 2 hours.
How do you know?
This is-
All right, without that,
Because I can see it.
but without that, we bend time.
Yeah, we're having a blast, bro.
Yeah, so we bend time. We enjoy time.
And this definitely didn't feel like 2 hours.
Yeah, because one of Einstein's
Because I've been
yeah,
in everybody's
Einstein's,
experience 2 hours of
his general relativity.
Yeah.
So special relativity was in 1905.
Okay.
E equals mc squared. And then in 1915, he came out with general relativity, which had to do with gravitational pull. He changed the understanding of gravity. In 2015, there's a group of scientists, and I don't know the full story behind it, but they had this laser. They were actually able to prove that light does bend, which is time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Einstein was able to prove that based off of an astrologer. He came up with a theory of it. It's like, oh, how do we know it works? Well, astrology goes, okay, I know how it works. Once there's a lunar eclipse, or solar eclipse, sorry, there's a star that's directly behind the sun, and if there is no gravitational bending of light, you can't see the star. But when the moon crossed in front of the sun, if the light was gone, and it looked like the star was off to the left or to the right, I forget which side, and it proved that the sun's a huge mass, and the star was coming in, and the light bent around it.
Wow.
So you can bend time. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
So how we bend time? Well, I don't know.
I don't know. But here's
yeah.
the thing: take the ice bath, and you'll find out how
Yeah.
slow time can go.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah,
true, right?
take the ice bath.
Yeah.
You'll find out how slow time can go, or how you can go within, and time just stops to exist.
Yep, that's it.
That's
yeah.
it. Ice bath. It's simple. It's free, bro. Try it.
Great points.
Yeah, and then if you go into an ice bath and go within, you'll end up with popsicle.
So, Kerop, tell us what's the best way to access Magic or Science? Are
Oh,
you on
it's the same
YouTube
way.
or what?
Oh, I'm on Spotify.
Okay,
I'm
Spotify.
on YouTube.
Apple
I'm
Music?
On Apple Music.
Nice.
Yes, I am.
All right.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, if
All great
You can-
platforms.
Are you on
Yeah.
Instagram?
I am on Instagram.
Okay,
it's called
what's-
Magic or Science Podcast.
Okay, perfect.
And I like your guys' stuff all the time.
Yeah, we
No,
do the same.
And,
absolutely,
we
man.
should collaborate more often, bro. This is
Exactly.
Fun.
Yeah.
This is very
Yeah.
cool.
That's what it's all about.
And I really do enjoy listening to your podcast, bro.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm driving, like for 4
yeah.
hours. Like I'm like kind of like zoned out, and I listen to you guys laugh, and I'm like, I feel like I'm there, bro. I mean, I literally
You
am
are,
here.
yeah.
You're here right now.
Boom.
Yeah.
But what I learned from the podcast is always amazing.
Yeah.
See, that's
yeah,
awesome.
same,
Bro,
yeah,
learning about
same
new
way.
people.
Yeah,
It's always a good thing, bro.
that's what it's all about, man.
And we should all these scientists I interviewed, all these witches that
Yeah.
claim they know a lot of things. They always say, "I keep learning."
Yeah.
that's what
You
it's
should
about.
never stop learning.
That's when you start dying. Is when you say
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah.
I got nothing left.
Yeah,
to
once
learn.
you think you know, if
have
I
no-
know, I have to stop because I know. It's like, but I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I think I know when I get in trouble.
Well,
I know
it's
better.
Just funny. It's just funny how that works, man.
Actually, it's funny now when Karen says, you should know better. I'm like, yeah, I came up with that theory. I should know better. I'm like, I don't know anything.
But I don't.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
But this was awesome having you on the show, Kerop. Thank you so much, guys. Check out Magic or Science. You can check it out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
we'll put
make
the
sure
link
you
below.
click and DM him.
Yes.
Direct message.
let me
Reach
know.
out to him. Or,
Yeah.
if you're listening and you've tuned in and, you reach out to him. It's the same concept that you would do with us. Shoot him an email, shoot him a direct message, DM on Instagram, whatever. He'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Right on. Thank you.
Kerop, we'll see you soon, brother.
Yeah,
take
you
care,
got
guys.
it. Hey, you guys out there, thanks for watching Perspective Shift. If you like what you see, go below and hit that subscribe button. All right?
We'll see you guys soon.
All right. Peace out.
Thanks, Kerop.
All right.